Welcome to the Launch Masterclass Lesson 2, and I am excited, glad that you're here. I'm glad to be here, and wow, this has been a year in the making. We've been planning for this. It's been a long road to get here, but we're here. I can't wait to get rolling. In a minute, I'm going to step back to the set right over there and get into lesson 2. It's all about the 3 primary types of launches and helping you find the right launch for you. So a little bit of few minutes of pregame here just to get us rolling, do some of the housekeeping, get everything covered. So right now, I'm streaming this, or we're streaming this in 2 different places. We're streaming it on the Facebook Launch Club Masterclass Facebook group. And after this broadcast, if you aren't in that group yet, you'll want to go join that group. But we're streaming it there, and we're going to stream it there for about 30 minutes. And then we're also streaming it on our concierge page, which is the place to watch it. So if you're watching this on Facebook in the Launch Club the Launch Masterclass Facebook group, then head over to the concierge page. There'll be a link down in the comments, because that's the best experience, because that's where my team is able to moderate all the comments, or watch all the comments, answer all the comments, and I'm also going to be watching the comments on my computer when I get back there. So head over to the concierge page. We'll give you a warning before we cut off the Facebook group, but the whole idea is to get you over to the concierge page, because that's the best experience. You can get the download. You should absolutely get the download that goes with this lesson. You'll have a better experience with that as well. So I just need to check my notes here to see that I'm covering everything. First of all, I wanted to give a shout out to everyone around the world. I'm coming to you from Colorado, from Durango, Colorado, out in the mountains here in Colorado, United States. But we have people from around the world. And for those of you who are in Europe or the UK and you're staying up late with me, thank you. For those of you in Australia and New Zealand who are getting up super early with me, thank you. And for everyone in between there, where it's the middle of the night, an extra thank you. For everyone across the country here in the States, across North America, South America, Central America, thank you. In fact, why don't you just go ahead and type into the comments, tell me what time it is, what your local time is there that you're watching from. I would love to hear that. And that's the whole thing with the comments, please. So this is the deal, is I'm used to being on stage in front of a lot of people. I do live events, these big live events. We'll have 700, 800, 900 people, 1,000 people at the events. And it's really easy to feed off all that energy. But right here, it's just me and a few cameras, a little bit of a team, and there's not a lot of energy here. And it's just self-generated here. And so if you can send me that energy in your comments and just say, hey, good job, keep going, cheer me on, I'll actually be watching those comments. My team will be feeding me those comments. And it really helps keep me just high energy and keep me focused and keep me doing my best for you. You know, it's funny, yesterday we did a practice session, a full dress rehearsal, did everything, including this part, the intro, and just pretending that there was people there. And I'll tell you what, it was hard. It was really hard to sit here and pretend for 3 hours, because it took us about 3 hours to do that dress rehearsal. And it was hard. In fact, I was a little bit grumpy after it, because there was so much energy to put out, and I wasn't really getting anything back. So right now, that was my gratitude this morning, that I've got you. I've got thousands of people watching, and I can show up from my little secret headquarters here and serve so many people today and help so many people, help them get launched. So give me your energy. We're using this Discus application for comments. You might have to register there, but once you're registered once, you're all good for the comments. So leave me your comments. Please be asking questions. I am going to be taking questions all the way through. We are going to have a super secret segment somewhere in here, and you have to be with me live to get the super secret segment. And it's really cool. I'm going to be talking about, it's a brand new, something I haven't talked about before. It's going to be super cool. So let me just make sure I got everything. I think that's it. We're about to get started. So buckle your seatbelts and let's get rolling. So how do you take what you love to do, your passion, your profession, even your hobby, and turn it into an online business that makes you a great income, creates a real impact in the world, and gives you freedom, real freedom. Freedom to work when you want, how much you want, and work anywhere you want in the world. A business that creates income for you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. How do you create a business like that? Or if you've already got an online business, how do you grow that business fast? Now, the goal of this masterclass is to show you the things you need to know to launch a 6-figure or even 7-figure business online and create a business where you have a great lifestyle, make a positive impact in the world, and let you do it without being hypey or slimy or scammy. And yes, you really can do it in a way so that your mom and your friends will be proud of you. It might sound like a dream, but I know it's possible because I started with nothing back in 1996. I had no experience, no knowledge, and I've built a business that's given me a great income, an amazing lifestyle, and I've helped thousands of clients from around the world. And more important than my success is my students' success. I've helped them launch and grow their businesses in hundreds of different markets and niches with all kinds of products and services and in dozens of countries and languages. Welcome to the Launch Masterclass. And whether you've got an online course, an online business, a product, a service, or a book to launch, this is the place to get your launch plan. Welcome to Launch Masterclass Lesson 2. I'm so happy you're here. This is about the 3 primary types of launches, your launch path through those launches, and figuring out which one is the right fit for you. So which of these 3 primary launches is the right fit for you? So we are here talking about launches. So what's the big deal about launches? This is the deal, is no one shows up slowly and survives in business. So if you want to have an online business and have all the income, all the lifestyle, the amazing lifestyle, all the freedom that brings, and the ability to make a great big positive impact in the world, if you want that online business, you need to launch. You can't just like create something and sort of spend all your time working on it and then just sort of release it and hope it works. Hope people show up and find you. Hope your business survives. You have to have an engineered, structured launch. And I have the formula for you to launch. I've been teaching this formula since 2005. I started developing it, and it was pretty much accidentally. I didn't really know what I was doing, but when I first started out, it was in 1996. My first launch was at the end of 96, early 97. It's been a long time. It's been 23 years that I've been at this online business. It's been almost 15 years that I've been teaching launches. And it was in 2005 that I first did this type of masterclass. So you're like, okay, Jeff, this stuff must just be like, it can't possibly work anymore. Like, you can't, well, trust me, it hasn't been the same exact tactics since then. But it's been the same formula and the same strategy. And that's what we're teaching in this Launch Masterclass. In fact, I went deep on it in Lesson 1. I'll get to that. I'll do a quick review of Lesson 1 in just a second. But when I talk about a launch, I'm talking about a structured process so that you let your prospects, you let your market, your niche, the people that are interested know that something's coming, and you gradually build up until they're so excited they can't wait to give you their money and place an order with you, or buy from you, or press that buy button, click that buy button, click that add to cart button. It's a process. And if you take a look at the way Hollywood releases their movies, they don't just pop out a new Star Wars movie one day. It's not like you're just like driving by the movie theater, all of a sudden, no, there's a new Star Wars movie, right? That doesn't work that way. It doesn't. They release a trailer like a year in advance, and another trailer, and another trailer. And they get the actors out doing talk shows and doing podcasts, and they build up the frenzy for it before the launch. If you look at Kylie Jenner, the way she launched her business and became the youngest billionaire ever, she did the same thing. This is the process that what I'm about to teach you is how you and I can do this, how the little guys can do this, can launch with huge success. So I didn't start off with huge success. If you were with me in the first lesson, you heard I started as a stay-at-home dad with a couple little babies, my wife out supporting the family, desperate times, very little money to go, but to go around, just worrying about making the payment for our house every month, just worrying about putting groceries on the table. And I started very, very slowly with very, very small emails. Started to build that up and did a launch and another launch and another launch, and they got better and better and better until I developed this formula, started teaching others. And here we are 23 years later. It's been amazing. But this is the key, is there's just magic in a launch. There's just magic in the start of anything. In a wedding is the start of a marriage, and a birth is the start of a life, and a graduation is the start, it's called commencement because it's the beginning of the life after the graduation. So there's magic in a launch, and that's what I want to share with you, is how to create that magic in your life and that magic in your business so that you start off with big momentum and big sales right from the start. So this launch masterclass, I'm going to be teaching you the core of my product launch formula. This is lesson 2. We already did lesson 1. Lesson 1 was awesome. That was the inner core strategy. Now we're into the 3 types of launches. I'm going to teach you these launches, going to go fairly deep on them. We're going to take, in our practice session, this lesson 2 went about 3 hours. So that's about what we're expecting here. But I'm going to go deep on these 3 types of launches and specifically try to help you find which one is right for you now. So right now I've got some people, it's funny, well, first of all, Julie is from Gnawbone, Indiana, and she says it's 4 p.m. there. So when you talk for 4 hours, I'll miss supper. Julie, I'm gonna try to get it done in 3 hours. Klaus said 10 p.m., not so late now, but it's gonna get there. We might get to 1 a.m. 3 p.m. in Aggie Land in Texas. Esther is 11 p.m. So these are mostly from the state. 11 p.m. in Romania. Vana is joining us from India, where he's starting out at 1:30 a.m. You are awesome. Zly, Z-L-Y, 5:04 a.m. Mafalda greetings from Portugal, 9:04 p.m. From Ohio, woohoo, 4 p.m. there. Obviously, we've got people tuning in. Oh, here's Sweden, 10 p.m. from around the world. Thank you for being here, and we're just here to change some lives. That's why I'm here. Why are you here? Why are you here? Go ahead and type it in the comments. Let me know why you're here. So before we move on, I just want a few disclaimers here. So just so it doesn't seem like magic, because there's no magic happening here. So first of all, I'm coming to you this is my secret headquarters. That's a little tongue-in-cheek. It's my office, so to speak. I call it my secret headquarters. This is normally a living room. There's normally a couch here, a chair here, another chair here, a coffee table here. We cleared all that stuff out and turned it into a bit of almost like a TV studio for a few days. There's the big view. You can see me, there's a big view right there. But we cleared it out. We're coming from the secret headquarters. So I've got cameras, we've got camera, got another camera right over here. You want to cut over that one, Dan? Boom, there's that camera here. That'll get me for one up here. There's the big view up there that Dan just showed you. So we got a few cameras. First I got my computer here, and that's sort of to keep me on track. It's got some notes for me. Obviously, if you've been watching already, you know this. There's no teleprompter. I'm pretty impromptu, and I'm just going to be teaching, and I'm going to be going deep and hopefully teaching from my heart. I've got a monitor here right below the camera. So if you see me looking down, that's my team sending me notes. I've got a monitor over here where I can see what you can see. You can see the picture. I have Dan over here. This is actually, we got another camera view. Dan is here there he is.
Hey guys.
And Dan's here to keep me on track, just to break in and give some reality checks.
Live stream police.
Yeah, the live stream police. There you go. I also have more team here, a little bit of a team here. We've got, let's go to that overhead shot again, and you can see John here. John, you want to wave? There you go. And Kristen, and then Joan's up here. She's out of the shot, but Joan's up there. And then we've got a whole bunch of team. You've noticed in the comments probably already, or if you're on Lesson 1, you saw them in the comments. And then if you've been in the Facebook group, you've seen we've got a whole bunch of people on the team that are supporting in terms of tech, in terms of customer service, in terms of coaching. So it's a big operation we got going on. My business has grown to this point where we can do this and we can go big and we can have cameras and we can have technology and I can have team, but I didn't start that way. And so many of my PLF owners didn't start that. I didn't have anyone working with me for 3 years, and then it was just me and my wife Mary, and then it was just, then we added Betty a few years later, actually 6 years later. So it was the first almost a decade with just Mary and I. So you don't have to start this way, but that's how we've grown to now. We get to have fun and be streaming around the world and have all kinds of crazy stuff. We do, like I said, we're probably going to go about 3 hours. It's going to be broken into 3 segments. I'm going to teach. We're going to go deep in case studies, and then we're going to do Q&A. I'll have Q&A mixed in all along, so be asking your questions. Here's a fun one. You go ahead. So I'm always really curious because there are literally thousands of people watching us. So it always makes me curious. So, and I'm really always curious about people's workspace. So just for fun, why don't you go ahead and take a selfie? Take a selfie of where you're at right now. And maybe even have like the stream in the background, or your screen in the background. Go ahead and take a selfie and post that to the Launch Masterclass Facebook group. And if you're not in the Facebook group, just post it either on Instagram and tag me. I'm Jeff Walker CO, or you can post it. You can post it on Facebook and just maybe hashtag Launch Masterclass. I would love to see that. Yeah. So Facebook hashtag Launch Masterclass. Insta, just tag me at Jeff Walker CO, as in Colorado, Jeff Walker CO. Or best of all, put it in the Launch Masterclass Facebook group. We do have one more camera. We have the squirrel cam. So there's the squirrel cam. So we had a little controversy about this in the last episode. So this is the view, my view. When I'm looking at the camera, I can actually see out these windows, and sometimes a squirrel shows up and tries to distract me. So we just decided to go with it and create that squirrel cam. And in Lesson 1, the squirrel showed up, but he stayed out of the camera range, so he was just teasing us the whole time. But that's the squirrel cam. We are going to have a super secret segment. I'm moving really quick here. Super secret segment, and it's not going to be in the recording. It's going to be some point here. I'm going to go to the super secret. It's going to be cool, so stick around live with me. And remember to ask questions. So I think that's about it. We're ready to roll. So are you ready? Are you ready to go? If you're ready, just type in the comments, say, I'm here. I'm ready. Let's go. And put it in the comments, and then I'll be able to head on over and see those comments. Wow, 193 comments. It's ridiculous. So it's just amazing. We have, for this Launch Masterclass, we have so far had 29,757 people sign up and register for the Launch Masterclass. Absolutely ridiculous, amazing. And we have people registered from 209 countries. I didn't know there were 209 countries. Funny question, if you Google how many countries are there, you get a lot of different answers. But our Google Analytics says 209 countries. It's absolutely amazing. I'm coming to you from basically my living room of my headquarters, and I get to help so many people and change the world. So quick review, Lesson 1, we covered the sideways sales letter. So the sideways sales letter, you have seen this before. This is the way the top leaders, influencers, experts, gurus, whatever, this is how you launch. This is how you launch successfully, is you put out a series of pre-launch content that lead into the offer. Build value, 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 and then make your offer. It's way better than just screaming, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. This is the way it's done. Now, this is a generalization. Sometimes the quantity changes. Sometimes the timing changes. But this is how you stand out, by delivering real value. And so it's the sideways sales letter, the PS path. We spent 3 hours on this a few days ago. I'm not going to spend 3 hours on it now, but I went really deep. And just to show you, this is what this diagram turned into in lesson 1. So there you go. There's a lot going on. So if you were not with me during lesson 1, you can watch the replay. It's available on the concierge page. I don't have time to go into this, but the whole idea is you build value over a pre-launch period, and then you go into making your offer. This isn't theory. It's not theory. This is proven by literally thousands of my product launch formula owners. So I've been doing this masterclass, like I said, since 2005. I've had over 1 million people go through this masterclass. I've had tens of thousands of people go through my advanced product launch formula coaching program. This is not theory. It's proven. My students have over $1 billion in results. And the absolute top people in whatever market you're in, whether you want to learn about knitting or tennis or meditation, the top people are using this formula. Okay, go check out lesson 1 if you haven't seen it yet, after we're done here. So we're going to be talking about the 3 primary types of launches. Sometimes I put these things up here, and these are notes to me to remember stuff as much as notes to you. So 1, as we go through here, you're going to see this word questions or a question mark. That's just me reminding you to ask questions. So there you go. And then I just put this up here because I want to just disclaim a few things. I want to tell you the fine print, the gotchas, because I ran an ad on Facebook driving people into the Launch Masterclass, and someone's like, Jeff, there's a lot of grumpy people that put grumpy comments on ads. And he was like, well, what's the deal? No one gives anything away for free. What's the deal? And what I said was, well, yeah, I'm running ads. I'm spending money to send people to Launch Masterclass. I'm going to make an offer eventually. So I will have an offer for you eventually, but I'm going to teach my heart out first. That's the whole basis of my formula. That's the whole basis of my process, is deliver massive value before you ask for the sale. And this is how you can make an offer and make sales without feeling slimy or scammy. And so here's the disclaimer, is as we go through this masterclass, I'll often say product launch formula. And when I say product launch formula, I'm talking about this methodology, which is what I'm teaching you in the Launch Masterclass. At the end of this Launch Masterclass, I will open up enrollment for the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program. And I hope you join me. And I'm going to do my best to convince you to join me, because even though you can get amazing value on the Launch Masterclass, and even though people have done launches of hundreds of thousands of dollars just from my free Launch Masterclass, it gets even better when you join the coaching program. So, that's down the road. Another week or so, I'll open up registration. Between now and then, we're just going to learn. We're just going to teach. And the other piece of fine print, this isn't magic. There's hard work involved. There's absolutely hard work involved in doing all this stuff. You'll never see me say you're going to get rich quick, because that's not going to happen. But if you're interested in putting in the work, the formula will work for you, and you'll end up building a business. So 3 types of launches: seed launch, internal launch, JV launch. JV stands for joint venture. So the seed launch is a great launch for when you're starting out. This is the launch that I like to say you can start with no list, no product, and you can launch. Now, that's a bit of an exaggeration to say no list, but we'll get there. There's so many great things about the seed launch. One of them is that you'll actually make sales before you create the product. Another one is it helps you create an amazing product, a product that is going to continue to sell because it's such a great product. It also allows you to get your first case studies and your first social proof. So it's super, super powerful. In addition to all that, If you're not just starting out, if you've got an established business and you would like to have a new product, a new offer to make, this is a great way to do it. I mean, I've been in business a long time, I'm well established, but I'll still go back and use the seed launch to create a new product. Because at times, it can be daunting to say, boy, I'm going to sit down and buckle down. Just next Tuesday, I'm going to sit down and create my product. This way, you sell the thing, you make some sales, and then it gets a lot easier to go ahead and create that product. You'll see, I'll get into it deep. Internal launch. This is if you're in business, if you have a list, if you have a current offer, or you have an offer that's coming up, but you've already got a list, an email list, or we could talk about this, a very engaged social following, then the internal launch can be really powerful. I love the internal launch. I mean, seed launch is amazing. This one might be my favorite just because it's so clean and elegant. And yes, I am a nerd and a geek because I can think launches can be elegant. But so the internal launch, classic sideways sales letter, if you've already got a business, it's great for you. If you already have an online business with a following, basically. Joint venture launch. This is where you can get anywhere from 2 to 6 times the results, and often even better than that from these types of launches. So it's bigger, I'm not going to say it's better. It's bigger, it's more complicated, it's more work, it's more involved. The results incredibly outsized, can build your list just in a huge way, can just absolutely build your list. And it almost appears like magic when it happens. There is no magic, there's hard work involved. Very, very cool. A more advanced process often comes after your internal launch. And I have this, you'll see this acronym up in a few places. This is one of those I just came up with yesterday during the practice session. ABL, always be launching. No matter where you are, whether you're just starting out, we already talked about that. You can't start out if you're not going to do a launch. It's a non-starter. It's just a non-starter trying to create a business without a launch. If you're in business, you always need to be rolling out something new. That's just the way business works. So always be launching. So remember, my team's flashing this up. Remember to ask questions. We will be getting to questions. In fact, I'll be taking questions as we go through here. In fact, Dan, what's going on over there? Is anything happening over there?
Yeah, we've got comments just coming in like crazy. We've got a whole bunch of people stoked to go. Here's a funny question. We've got someone wondering about that ABL that you have up there all sneaky like.
Yeah, well, I actually just mentioned that. Was the ABL. In fact, wait, before we go to ABL, I want to just a shout out to all our PLF owners out there. If you're a PLF owner, just let me know, and let me know when you came into the world, into my world, not when you came in. When you became part of the PLF community, just let me know in the comments, because I'm going to be talking about you in just a minute. But ABL is always be launching. Yeah, absolutely, always be launching. Got any other? Give me another question. Let's get more. I get so in the groove once I get to questions because I've seen it all, done it all.
Let's see. All right. Well, actually, so for everyone out there, type in and let's see if we can get some questions up for Jeff here. We've got a bunch of PLF owners in the comments. We've got PLF owners for 10 years now. Another PLF owner for almost 10 years now. We've got Kathy Hay in the comments here. I think Kathy's coming up. We'll be hearing a little more from Kathy a little bit later on. We've got someone from PLF 1 in the comments all the way back then.
Wow. So this is the thing I just refreshed the comments right here. It's pretty cool seeing all of them coming in. So here's the thing. I'm about to jump into the seed launch right here. But this page was intentionally left blank. There's the seed launch, it's coming up. This page intentionally left blank because this is what I know. This is what I've been teaching entrepreneurs how to grow their businesses since 2005. In fact, I started coaching people in 2003. 2005, the first product launch formula came out. We have someone in the comments that actually saw it the first time there. And this is what I know, is that if this is like, this is a sun It's a sunny day, you're feeling great. You're just in a fantastic mood up here. And here's like, it's raining, raindrops are falling, and the sky is falling, and I'm horrible, and I can never do anything right. So if this is like, you're just in a bad mental state, or a low mental state, high mental state up there. And this line, everyone fluctuates. Everyone, some of them do better than others, but we all fluctuate, right? And this is what I know of entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. If you're either an entrepreneur or you're soon to be entrepreneur, is that we tend to be more creative, and we tend to have higher highs and higher lows. We tend to do this. In fact, we tend to do this in reality. And so, like, if you think about it, I mean, we've got all these PLF owners that are here. And I'm just going to go ahead and refresh it. We've got all these PLF owners that have been, some of them a couple of years, some of them 10 or 15 years. We have people on this call watching right now. They're busy. They've got businesses. They've done launches. Some of them are in launches right now, so they're super busy. Some of them have done significant launches, 6-figure launches, 7-figure launches. Some of them have known me for 5 or 10 years. Some of them know me personally. They have my cell phone. Some of them I've actually gone on trips and traveled around the world. Some of them I've gone to their weddings. And why are they showing up for this masterclass? It's because no one does it alone. No one builds their business in a vacuum, because there are things that hold us back. And those things that hold us back are as much in our mind as anywhere else. And I'm talking about things like, we all worry about failure, right? Or we all worry that it won't work for me. It works for everyone else, but it won't work for me, right? We think about, I'm a failure. That's like when we're down here, I'm a failure. We forget that failure is an event. It's not an identity. You can fail, but it's not an identity. You don't really fail. You either win or you learn. So really what I'm talking about is how to win. There's, another thing is it's not perfect. I have to make it perfect. Perfectionism is just another excuse. It's just another word for procrastination. It's an advanced form of procrastination. Tony Robbins says this, like if your measure is it's got to be perfect, then you're saying I'm never going to meet that measure. So you're giving yourself permission to fall short of it, because no one ever gets it perfect. The reality is you have to get it out there. You don't want it to be perfect. And that's why there's this word, it's been on my mind a lot lately, association. And so much of your success, whether you're looking to grow your business or start a business, is who you associate with. And I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family. My parents weren't, my grandparents weren't, my great-grandparents, no entrepreneurs. No one had a business. No one started a business. My friends didn't. I grew up thinking that you just went and worked for you got a corporate job and you worked there for 40 years. And you hoped to get a gold watch at the end. That's how I grew up. But then, once I sort of got into this crazy world and I started to associate with other people, my thinking started to change. And I'm here as much to change your thinking as anything else. And that's why those PLF owners are showing up here, even though they're incredibly busy, even though they've seen me do my masterclass a dozen times, some of them, they're still showing up because they stay plugged into the community. That's why even within this masterclass, I'm making my attempt to build community in that Facebook group and in these comments. In my coaching program, we have community going back years and years and years. And it's something that I thrive at, is creating community. But the thing is no matter where you're at, you have to associate. If you're taking your business ideas to your parents or your siblings or your kids or your friends who've no idea about business, they're not going to give you the right feedback. And they're not going to help your mental game. Too many times, they'll be telling you why it won't work, why you can't instead of you can. So I'll tell you this, I'm giving you strategies. I'm giving you the seed launch. I'm giving you the internal launch. I'm giving you the JV launch. I'm going to give you the circle of awesome. It's all coming up. It's all going to be great. And these strategies all work, but you have to take care of what's inside your head, what's between your ears, because that's what's going to drive you forward. And so I'm building this mental game all the way through this Launch Masterclass for you. I'm just pulling back the curtains a little bit, because I know what's going to move you forward is your mental game, is you understanding that there is no failure, understanding that this will work for you, understanding that you don't need to be perfect, understanding that you need the knowledge. Yes, you need the knowledge, but you need knowledge. You need to learn from people from experience, and you need to know that you don't need to, every step of the process, you need to focus on the next step. It's the baby steps. You'll hear me say that a lot throughout my trainings. Baby steps, knowing that next step. And again, a lot of people, they say, well, this is all great. It all works for you, Jeff. But all of this comes from experience. It comes from 15 years of teaching this stuff. It comes from 23 years in business. And really, I am my own, what I call patient zero. So like, everything gets tested on me first. You heard that term before, patient zero? Everything gets tested on me first. This all comes as an experiment that started in 1996. It's all proven. Everything I'm teaching you is from hard-won experience. First, I had that start in 1996, but that was just the beginning. And it hasn't been all smooth sailing. And I've been knocked down more than once. So in 2005, I got a phone call that would change everything in my business and really in my life. It was one of those calls you never want to get. When I picked up the phone, I had a nice business. I'd come a long way in a few short years. When I started my business, I was a stay-at-home dad taking care of my 2 small children. And other than my family, I had nothing going for me. I hadn't made a single dollar in years. My wife was supporting the family by working long hours in the corporate world. I started my business out of pure desperation. We were really struggling financially and just trying to keep our heads above water. And I needed to relieve some of the pressure off my wife, Mary. She was the only breadwinner for our family, and she just wanted more time with our children. At the start of that business, I discovered, almost by accident, a new way to market and sell online. Over the years, that new way of selling would eventually become my product launch formula. In any case, within a few years, Mary was able to leave her job and be home with me and the kids and help me in my business. That business was all about the stock market. I had a partner in that business, and we published a newsletter every business day of the year. We basically told people what we thought was going to happen in the stock market, and we were good at it. We had subscribers that stuck with us year after year. It was a great business, and I was able to move my family to our dream hometown out in the mountains of Colorado. And I had a lot of flexibility to be with my family and do all the outdoor things that I love to do. I had a great income that was beyond anything I'd ever dreamed of, and we had great clients. Life was really good. And then came that fateful phone call on a beautiful spring day. I remember it was a Friday afternoon, and it was almost time to kick back and relax with the family for the weekend. The call was from my business partner, and it only lasted a few minutes. I remember walking over to pick up that phone, and when I hung up just 5 minutes later, my business and my income was basically gone. It was almost surreal. My partner decided to go in a different direction, as he said. He had secretly started a competing business, and he'd already started taking all of our hard-won clients to his new business. In a few minutes on that phone call, I just lost my livelihood, and my immediate thought was my family. And how was I going to support them? Now, I can't lie. In addition to the financial hardship, this wasn't an easy thing to take emotionally. I'd spent more than 8 years building up that business, and to have it all taken away, it just wasn't easy. But this is the thing, and maybe you've had a moment like this in your life. I knew it was time to move on. I knew I had a bigger future in front of me. This is going to be my time to start over, my time to build something great. And I also knew that I had a secret weapon. At the same time that my emotions were just churning away, I knew that I had the formula to start over. I could rebuild and I could do it quickly. And I could even do it better than I had the first time around. It was almost like I had this unfair advantage. I knew exactly how to start. Since I was going into a new market with a new business and I didn't have a product or a list, I would use a seed launch. I figured this way I'd bring in some money quickly, which was awesome since I just lost my income. And I would get paid before I even created my product. But there was another really cool benefit. You see, I was creating a training product in a new market. I had a lot of knowledge and skill in my new market, but I didn't have any experience teaching in that market. But the way the seed launch is structured, it almost guarantees that you're going to create a great product and get it done quickly. So it was about a month later that I started my seed launch for my new business. Of course, I know all about humble beginnings, and this was another one for me. Since I was brand new in this market and I didn't start with a list, well, I only made 6 sales in the seed launch. Now I have to admit, I had hoped for more sales, but I knew the seed launch isn't about quantity. It's about getting that initial momentum, getting your first sales and building your product. And I knew that 6 clients was all I needed to get started. It was enough to begin building, enough to create a product. So I delivered a classic seed launch product. It was a series of teleseminars. I split my content into 5 sections, and I delivered on those 5 calls. I made sure it was super interactive and that I answered everyone's questions. And because it was so interactive, it helped me deliver a great product. I did some extra bonus calls because I learned long ago that over-delivering on your promise is the easiest way to create raving fans. You just go an extra step or 2 and your clients will love you. In any case, I worked really hard to make my clients happy and successful. And because they were so successful, I ended up getting some great case studies and testimonials. And here's the important thing. In doing those calls and teaching those first clients, I started to learn true mastery of the teaching of my topic. That made my product amazing from the start. You know, over the years, I've met a lot of people that worry about creating a perfect product. And that's a really bad thing because no one will ever create the perfect product. And really that pursuit of perfection, well, it ends up being nothing more than an avoidance tool, a bad excuse for never releasing your product. The thing is, no matter how good you are at something, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to automatically be a great teacher. But because the seed launch process is so interactive, it makes creating a great product almost inevitable. The product is tuned to what your clients want and need. The product won't be perfect, but it's going to be great, and it will be done. Okay, so I was off to a nice start, but 6 sales, well, it wasn't going to pay the bills for very long, and it certainly wasn't much of a business yet, and so it was time to move on to my next launch. After all, I had a family to support. Now, the standard product launch formula path is going from seed launch to an internal launch and then a joint venture launch. But you know how they say sometimes rules are made to be broken, and that's what I did in this case. I went straight from my seed launch to a JV launch. I'd gone to a few seminars in my new market niche, and I'd made a bunch of friends at those seminars. A few of those friends had significant businesses with strong email lists. And when I asked them to promote my launch, they agreed. I put together a great sideways sales letter, and then I counted down to launch day. It was October 21st, 2005, when I pushed that send button on my launch. Now, I'll admit that I was really nervous. This was the start of a new business. It's been 7 months since that phone call from my ex-partner that ended my first business, and since I'd lost my income. I put in a lot of work in starting over. I was in a new market with a new product, I had a new website, and I had these new JV partners. Well, I didn't have to wait long. The orders started coming in almost immediately. Within the first 15 minutes, I had over $50,000 in sales. And they didn't stop there. In less than a week, that launch brought in $600,000 in sales. Within a few months after the launch, my revenue was over $1 million. In my first business, it had taken me 6 long years to get to $1 million in revenue. This second time around, with the right launch formula, it had taken just 6 months. Of course, not all that was mine to keep. I had commissions to pay to my partners and had some other costs, but it was still an amazing start for my new business. But really, the money I made in that launch was just a drop in the bucket compared to everything else the launch did, because it launched an entire business for me. You see, that was the very first launch of my flagship product, the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program. That one joint venture launch gave me an immediate positioning as a top leader in the market. It gave me instant momentum, and it built my list from nothing to 20,000 people in just a few weeks. And it's amazing to think about it, but I've now had over 10,000 students go through my training, and I've generated over $25 million in sales for Product Launch Formula. And my students, this is the important part, my students have done over $500 million in sales of their products. And this is the part I love. Their products have helped thousands of people in hundreds of markets, from learning tennis to healing brain trauma to calligraphy to raw food diets to couples therapy to reading echocardiograms. And to think all of those people that my clients have been able to help is just amazing. There are couples who saved their marriage because of my clients' products. There are people who didn't have heart attacks because of my clients' products. And it all started with my very modest seed launch with 6 sales. And the ripples that spread from that humble launch, it just gives me chills to think about. You know, I have some clients that have had huge results with Product Launch Formula, amazing, earth-shaking results. And I love to hear from them about their success. But I still get just as excited when I hear about the people that are doing their very first seed launch, because I know what a huge positive impact that seed launch can have on a family and on the world. So how does that happen? How do you go from 6 sales to 600,000 to millions of dollars? That's what we're jumping into right here. And that 6 sales was a seed launch. So this is my diagram of the seed launch. Remember to always be launching and ask questions. So this is the seed launch is great if you're just starting out. It's great if you don't really have a list. It's great if you don't have a product. It will also work if you want to create a new product, if you already have a business. So if you're starting out, also it's great if you're some type of a practitioner, if you have a one-on-one practice, if you're helping people, if you're coaching people, consulting people, working with people. And it could be in business, it could be finance, it could be body work, it could be mental health, it could be whatever. It's great for you. So the first thing we need to do is we need to build what we call a seed list, a very small list. So this is the standard formula for any type of list building, is you have an opt-in page with a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is, it's simply something that people will, when they come to your page, if they give you their email address, then they get this thing, this lead magnet. So this is your opt-in page. When people put their email address in and click subscribe, then they join your email list. It's that simple. So now if you build this opt-in page, it used to be really hard. When I started out, I was like making it from scratch, like in these front page, if anyone remembers those days. Nowadays, there's tools, you can do this in minutes. You create your lead magnet. So like, let's say you were teaching, you were a guitar teacher or a guitar player, and you wanted to create a product about guitar. And maybe you realized that there's just all these people that have guitars and maybe can play some chords and can strum a few things, but really haven't put together a song list, a repertoire. And so you decide, okay, I'm going to create a course on how to build your first 10-song repertoire. And so maybe for that, your lead magnet might be like 100 songs, 100 great songs to learn, your first 100 songs, or pick your first 10 songs out of this. So something around that, like it's just going to be a song list of 100 easy to play songs. And so what you would do is you build out that page, and then you would start to drive some traffic. So there's different ways to drive traffic. And here we're talking about a little bit of traffic, not a ton, but maybe you have a great place to do this is from forums or Facebook groups. Another place to do it is from maybe you can be featured on podcasts. Another place you might be able to do it is you might already have clients, like if you're already teaching. You already might have some type of a list, like a beginning list, or maybe you started blogging a long time ago and you have this list that you started that you don't do much with, or you started podcasting, you've got a little bit of a list that you don't do much with. Or what we're starting to see now more than in the past is paid traffic, where you actually will run some ads on Facebook and Instagram. The great thing about paid traffic, the bad thing is it costs money. The greatest thing about it is it's guaranteed you know that you actually will send traffic, and you can do it on demand when you want to do it. So you don't, listen to me carefully, you don't have to do paid. You can do these others, or you don't have to do these others. You can do paid. There's some flexibility here. I know you want me to just give you that this is the boom, but the reality is there's some flexibility, and most people use multiple channels. So you send some traffic into here, and you start to build out your list. Now, what I want you to do is think about 200 people, but really let's think about 300. Some people have done seed launches with much less. Some people have done seed launches with a lot more. But just as a rule of thumb, aim for between 200 and 300 people. Now, with lists, since we're going to be talking about a list a lot today, and with lists, I'm talking about an email list. I'm not talking about social media following. I'm talking about an email list. If you have a social media following, that could be another one up here. You have a social following, then you send them over here to opt in to get your lead magnet. So if it's like the 100 best songs, 100 first songs to play, or 100 easiest songs, and I'm not saying that's a good lead magnet, I'm just saying there's something I just came up with on the fly right here. So some amount of these people coming here, to get 200 to 300 from your initial thing, you probably need to get maybe 400 to 600 to click through to get to that 200 to 300. And once they join your list, they're on your list. It's an amazingly powerful thing. Now, if you're just starting out, that might seem like, there's some people that just have a block with this. It's like, I could never get 300 people. That's like getting 10 people a day for 30 days. Or it's like getting 5 people a day for 60 days. So in 2 months, if you can get 5 people, if you can get 10 people to click over here, 10 people a day, then you're going to be in this range in 2 months, and you're going to be ready to launch. And that's a lot better than sitting around wishing you had an online business. So enough of that. So then you take your list and you run them through a simple sideways sales letter. Again, lesson 1, we went deep on that. Now, in lesson 1, we sort of had, you saw my diagram. We had 4 pieces of content. Because this offer, I'm going to talk about the offer in just a minute for the seed launch, is so powerful, we're just going to do it in 2 pieces of content. So first you have PLC, and this really acts like PLC 1 through 3 and the sideways sales letter. So now you tell people on your list about this really cool thing you got going on, which is it could be a video. I recommend a video. It could be a screen capture video. It could be an email. It could be a podcast. It could be a blog post. You send them to here, and this builds real value. So going back to our guitar repertoire, maybe it was, so now they got the 10 songs, but now you need to educate them and really be like, I think about it, like what if someone came over to your house and they saw your guitar? It's like the party problem for guitar players. Someone comes over, they see your guitar, and it's like, wow, you got a guitar, play me something. And then you're like, I can't actually play any songs. Or the campfire problem. Like you're out camping, you brought your guitar just to strum, all of a sudden someone sees it and you're sitting around the campfire and like, play me a song, and you don't have a song. So what I'm doing right here, even though you're likely not a guitar player or a musician, you probably don't care about it, but what I'm doing, what I was just speaking there was the start of PLC 1. It's the start of the opportunity. Well, what you really need is you just need a simple repertoire. And really, if you had 10 songs and figure out how to play those 10 songs, you're set for any situation where someone asks you to play or where other people are playing, you might want to play along. And let me show you how to do it. You already have my list of 100 songs. Well, here's how to pick out those 10 songs. And here's how to start to learn those songs. So that'd be PLC 1 through 3. This is PLC 4, which we call enrollment. This is where you actually make your offer. So we've condensed the sideways sales letter down quite a bit and made it a lot simpler for the seed launch. Now, the reason that the seed launch is so powerful is that the offer you're going to make is a very powerful offer. What you're going to do is you're going to offer a series of we could do calls, we could do webinars, we could live streams, we could do Facebook Lives, Insta Lives. But when people buy from you, they're going to get a series of 5, call it 6 calls, 6 webinars where you're going to coach them It's not going to be personal coaching, but it's going to be small group coaching. And you're going to work with them personally, and you're going to work with them interactively, and you're going to work with them live. So if they buy right here, they go through the enrollment video, they buy, that's what they're going to get. And the thing is it's a super, super powerful offer. Like if I was just to say right now, I'll make an offer for you where there's only going to be 20 or 30 of us, and the 20 or 30 of us are going to get on a call, and we're going to work through your launch and figure out your launch, would that be attractive? I bet it would be attractive to a lot of you, right? Right now, you're like, just show me the form and I'll put in my credit card right now, because it's a very attractive offer. And no matter what you're doing, what you're teaching, what you're bringing to the world, it's going to be an attractive offer. So going back to the guitar repertoire, you're like, okay, this is the deal. I'm going to do 5 sessions. Actually, I'm going to do 6 sessions. And on the first session, we're going to you picked out those 10 songs. But what you probably haven't ever been taught, you've been taught chords. You might have been taught even a little bit of single string soloing, but you've probably never been taught how to actually learn a song. I mean, there's a technique. There's some real tricks. There's some real strategy and tactics to actually learn a song. And in the first lesson, I'm going to show you how to learn a song. We're going to walk through it. I'm going to be playing my guitar. In fact, we're going to even be able to flip over to your camera and see what you're doing. And in this first one, we're going to learn how to play a song, or how to learn a song. In the second one, we're going to learn how to get people to sing along with you when you start playing, because it's a lot easier to play a guitar if there's people singing along. And in the third one, we're going to teach about stagecraft, or so. I don't know what it's going to be, but there's going to be 5 calls. And so your job, when you put together this offer, is take whatever domain of knowledge you have and just split it into 5 topics. That's all there is to it. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit, and then the 6th call is just going to be pure Q&A. You just get on there and answer Q&A. So your goal here is to get 20 to 30 people to buy your product. And when they do it, you get dollars. So money in the bank is really good, and it's also great motivation, because you haven't created this product yet. You just have an outline. The only thing you need to do is come up with those 5 main topics. In fact, you really don't even need to do that. You could wait to do that, but it's best if you came up with those 5 topics and you mention those 5 topics right here when you make your offer. Okay, so you get dollars. And seed launch, typical pricing, there is no typical pricing, but often it depends completely on your market. But seed launches usually are at least $300, and they can go up to $3,000. So, but let's just say you went really low end and you did $100 for these 5 calls. If you think about it, you're sharing your expertise over 5 calls, so $100 would only be $20 a call there. It's just, you're probably going to go higher than that. But let's just say you brought in anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. And I'm making all these numbers up. Everything's 100% made up. There are no income claims. I'm not promising you anything. 100% made up. But it's been done over and over and over. I want to emphasize that. So you made money. And you made money, and that's fantastic, right? But there's another thing you got in addition to making money, is you got buyers. And you have a buyer's list. So these people, they used to be on your prospect list. Now they're on your buyer's list. Now pay attention to this. You now have 2 lists. They're very different. This list is awesome to have, and you've got this 200 to 300, but 20 or 30 people have moved from this list to this list. Technically, it's very easy to do. It's just a no-brainer, but conceptually is what's the important part. Prospect list, buyer's list. Someone on your buyer's list, this has been proven out for me personally for the last 23 years, is worth 15 times what someone on your prospect list. And when I say worth, I mean you are going to be doing another launch down the road. Remember, always be launching, always be launching. Eventually you're going to do another launch, and when you do that next launch, and when you watch our case studies, people, they never just stop at their first launch. When you do that next launch, the average person on this list will buy at a rate of 15 times this. And so a big part of your business, and this might sound simple, but this is super advanced, and a lot of people miss this. The name of this game, the name of any game in business, is you make the first sale, not to make dollars, even though you make some dollars, but you make that first sale to generate the buyer. And in fact, in my business, I'm saying buyers because it's like the industry language, prospects, buyers, 15x. But in my business, we don't have that many rules in my business, but with my team, we do have a rule, and we refer to our people as owners, not buyers. So that's and owners is capitalized. So when people enroll in the Product Launch Formula coaching program, they become PLF owners, capital O. That's just a rule. I know it's not grammatically perfect. That's a rule in my business. And sometimes when you're texting back and forth and slacking back and forth, it's a pain in the neck to capitalize the O in owners. But it's the rule. You have to do it if you're going to be on my team. So, in any case, did it all make sense, Dan? Am I confusing people, you think, or is it all looking good?
I think it's a pretty sweet diagram you got there. I'm following along.
Cool.
We got an interesting question though that I think might be kind of a cool one.
Yeah.
Timothy Kirk asks, what was your first seed launch?
That's a great question. So my first business was all about the stock market and teaching people about the stock market. And that went from 1996 until early 2005. And then I had the partnership breakup, which I delicately put in that video I just showed you. It was messy and nasty, but we had that partnership breakup. And then I stepped back and I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? And it was, I want to teach entrepreneurs, I want to help entrepreneurs. So in that first business, I didn't do any seed launches because we were selling subscriptions. We were selling newsletter subscriptions, email newsletter subscriptions. People were paying us money to get our email newsletters. And it's funny because email newsletters is like the hot new trend right now. That's what I was doing in '96. But my first seed launch, Dan, was actually for the very first version of Product Launch Formula. I called it the Product Launch Workshop, and that's the one where I had 6 people buy. Now, I did that started in April of '05, and I did 5 and ended up doing like 6 or 7 calls, and then I did a Q&A call, and then I invited a bunch of friends who were experts and interviewed them, and this ended up being like 10 or 12 calls just because I obsess about over-delivery. But that was my first one. So I was teaching people how to do launches. And then in October, I came out with the first home study version of Product Launch Formula. We shipped boxes of CDs and DVDs and books and stuff, long before online courses were a thing. And that first seed launch, so this is the deal, is that in 2005, I was an expert at launches. I'd been doing almost a decade of launches, or like 8 years of launches in my prior business, but I wasn't an expert at teaching the launches. And part of the seed launch process is you become an expert at the teaching. And I'll get to that in just a minute, but that's why that seed launch was so powerful. And when I came out with my first version of Product Launch Formula, by universal acclaim, it was like one of the absolute best training products for entrepreneurs, online entrepreneurs that had ever been done. And it's because I'd done the seed launch and I'd figured out how to teach it. And that's what we're going to get to right now. So now you've got these owners, right? And maybe, are you willing to take that on with me? That you don't have buyers, you have owners, right? Are you willing to take that on to have owners? So now you've got 20 or 30 owners. So now what you do, going back to the guitar repertoire, is you send them to a survey. So I've got 2 columns here. So this is product delivery. This is sort of the sales. Sales here, delivery here. Okay, so you take these folks, your owners, your cherished, precious owners, the 20 or 30 people that are going to be the very foundation of your business going forward. I had 6 of them, and I'm still in contact with some of them now 14 years later. Okay, and then you take them and you send them to a survey. So this column here is a survey. So you send them to a survey and say, hey, I'm so excited to have you in this guitar repertoire class. And our first lesson is going to be on, what did I say it's going to be on? How to actually practice. How to practice a complete song so that you can learn a song all the way through. And so that's going to be our first segment, our first lesson. And I've just got one question for you. It's like, what is your top question on this? If you could sit down with me and have a private lesson, or maybe sit down for a cup of coffee with me, what would be your number one, your top two questions on how to actually learn a song all the way through from beginning to end? So they answer your questions. You take their answers, and they'll just, the way I've done this many times, they'll just sort themselves into topics. So you take those questions and you sort through them and you say, okay, what's the path through here that I should take in my presentation? And then you put together a simple presentation with maybe 10 of the questions in an order that makes sense to you. And then you get on the call and you deliver it. So the beautiful thing about this is you don't have to sit there and think, wow, if I was a beginner at this, and what would be how should I organize this lesson? They organize it for you. So you have taken what you've done is you've designed a training that is perfectly in alignment with their needs, their desires, their hopes, dreams, fears, and frustrations. And so you've done your first lesson, and it's awesome. Now, after that, it's very simple. You send them to another survey, or you could draw it this way either. You send them to another survey and you say, hey, that first lesson was awesome, and where we talked about how to actually learn a song all the way through. Our next lesson is going to be how to get the crowd to sing along with you when you're playing, because that makes things so much easier. So first of all, can you just go to take this survey and help me plan this lesson? There's no magic trick. You're letting them know that you need their help and you want their help. So go take this survey. Now, this survey's got two questions. The first question is, in our last lesson, we talked about how to learn a song all the way through. And I just want to make sure I covered all your questions. Was there anything I missed there that you need me to cover? Second question is, our next class is going to be on how to get people to sing along with you. And again, I'm not a guitar teacher. I don't know if this is right, if this makes any sense at all, but hypothetically. Second question is, our next lesson is how to get people to sing along with you. And what is your top question? So then you've now taken the second survey. What do you do on the second call? I bet you're starting to figure this out. You take those questions, you organize them into a presentation, a flow that makes sense, you get on and you deliver it. So basically, if you can take a topic and split it into 5 core areas, if you can ask people that simple question or those 2 simple questions, and then you can take their responses and put them in some kind of a flow that you can talk about for an hour, then you can do this. You can create a product. And you end up, I just have 1 through 3 here. You would end up doing 4 and 5, and then you'd answer questions. You do just a wide open Q&A where you can open up the lines and answer Q&A. You could do bonus ones if you want. You could bring in outside experts if you want. But you have just gone through creating your seed product. And if you doubt the capabilities here, again, this is exactly what I did for 6 people, and it grew into a product launch formula, which I've now had tens of thousands of people go through. I've made tens of millions of dollars in sales for it. I've helped people around the world get their businesses launched, all using this exact formula. Makes sense? Now let's take a look. Like, say you've done this. What are the assets that you've created? What have you just done? You now have, of course, you've recorded everything. I mean, duh. You could do this on Zoom, you could do it on GoToWebinar, you could do it on YouTube, you could do it on Facebook, you could do it on Insta. It's already recorded all the video for you. So either you're on camera or you could do it screen capture. I mean, you could just do this via the phone if you want and just audio if you want, but I highly recommend video. Even if you're not in video, you could do screen capture where they just see your computer screen and maybe your keynote or your PowerPoint, your slides. But you now have a video recording. You also have audio recording. Duh, it's just automatic. You take the audio and you get it transcribed. TRANS stands for transcribed. It's very cheap, very easy, very fast to get the transcripts created. So now you have a written document, because some people are going to want to read instead of listen or watch. You have done a Q&A. You've done Q&A all the way through. You could turn that into an FAQ. People love, frequently asked questions. They love an FAQ document. So it's a separate document. You can just, use Word or whatever you want, Google Docs to create that document. You also have case studies, because after people go through this, they're going to put it to use. And because you created a product that's just an experience that is tuned to what they need, instead of just trying to make it up in your head and figure out what they need, since it's tuned to what they need, they're going to get great results. You will likely have your first case studies, and I'm just going to put an abbreviation here, P. You have your first amazing product. And it will be amazing because every step of the way, it's based on exactly what people need, want, their hopes, dreams, fears, frustrations. And it's way easier to do that than to try to sit there in your head and think about, how do I create this course? You've just created an online course. Online courses are the hottest thing out there. They're selling like crazy. It's a market that's just completely blowing up. Self-education is the new norm. And you now have your own online course. And you got paid to create that online course before you created it. Let's hear it for the seed launch. If that's sort of cool, if you think that sounds like something you can do, go ahead and type in to the comments, I'm in for the seed launch. Dan, did we get any questions coming in?
We do, although before we jump into that really quick, I'm just going to say that we are about to cut the Facebook Live feed. So if you're watching over on Facebook right now, team is going to be putting a link in there to go over to our concierge page. That's where the action's happening. That's where you can type in your questions and your comments, and that will relay them so that Jeff can see them. So if you're watching on Facebook now, just click that link, get over to the concierge page, because we are about to shut down that Facebook live stream. And then, let's go into a little bit of question here. We've got one here that I think was covered a little bit, but I think it's a cool thing to emphasize again, from Belinda Ring, who's asking if a seed launch is a way that you can kind of test the market a little bit to you have an idea and you want to see if it works. And if it's a good topic, and if it's a way that you can kind of test the market before you just full out create a product and then see if it'll sell.
Yeah, that is exactly 100% straight on perfect. Because when I made this first offer for my seed launch, I didn't know people whether they would want to learn how to do launches. And we've seen this over and over. Because the effort, again, so first of all, ABL is always be launching. But it's also always be building your list. And so once you get in this business, you're always going to be doing this. You're always going to be building this list. So now you've got this list, and anytime you think there might be something of interest, you could basically put this together, this first video or this first email or blog post or podcast, and send people into that and judge the reaction. And then decide whether you actually want to do the launch. And then once you do the launch, then you're figuring out how to teach the product. So it's the greatest way to dip your toe in the water, to just start moving forward to see if it's a direction that's going to work. So, yeah. Any other questions? Any other questions coming out there?
So how about this one from Robert Kelly? He's wondering if you have multiple products, would you recommend trying to launch them all at once, or trying to just launch or trying to just pick one and go with that one?
Yeah, don't launch them all at once. Pick one at a time. Pick the first one, the one that feels good, the one you want to get out there. Do one at a time. Doing multiple launches at the same time it's the way to drive yourself insane. One at a time. There's plenty of time. Think about this it's like I talked about. You are not a failure. Failure is just an event. I'm teaching you launches, and I want to get you launched, but I really want your business to get launched. So I'm teaching individual launches, but really my core is I want you to have a business you love, a successful business. And so you dip your toe in the water, get that first launch done, and then move forward to your next launch and your next launch, and you'll get better. And that's how I went from my very first launch, if you saw less than one, that did $1,650, And I eventually got to launches that grew and grew and grew and grew to like numbers that I couldn't even believe. So let's jump forward to the internal launch. Okay, so the internal launch is basically, this is the classic sideways sales letter. If you go back to lesson 1, when I went through the sideways sales letter, this is a classic sideways sales letter where we have PLC 1, 2, 3, 4, opportunity, transformation, ownership, enrollment. But it all starts, so here's what I didn't talk about in lesson 1, is again, this should look a lot like that last one. Here's your opt-in page. This is where you have a lead magnet. And this is your email list. And so people come to your site, they opt in, and they join your email list to get your lead magnet. Again, it's ABL. Always be launching, always be building your email list. So people are like, and so if you have an existing list, if you have an existing business, then use the sideways sales letter. You send them into each one of these, and you're going to, like I talked about this in the last lesson, you're going to have your best week ever, probably. You're certainly your best week of the year. Well, not certainly, disclaimers, but you're going to have a great week. In fact, my goal for you is to have the best week that you've ever had. In fact, my true goal is to make as much in a week as you normally make in a year. It's a ridiculous outsized goal. I'm not promising it, but we've seen it happen. So you take your email list and you're driving them into each piece of pre-launch content. Now, if you already have something, you don't want to create a new product, you don't want to create a new offer, start from scratch and create a product, then create a new offer. Take that current product you have and change the offer some. The easiest way is to add some bonuses and then do the launch. Turn it into a new offer. It's really easy to freshen up an offer that you already have, or create that next product, or do the seed launch and then create the product from the seed launch. You create that online course and boom, here you go. So how do you build that list? There's 3 primary types of traffic. There's organic traffic, which is organic traffic would just be people finding you through word of mouth, through search, through someone talking about you on social and coming over. It's just organic. They organically find you. So you're getting organic traffic into your lead magnet. The other way to do it is through paid traffic. And in fact, I forgot a big one here. We'll put another one here. This would be like, there we go. That one will be social. So if you have a social following, you're driving them there to get your lead magnet. You're driving people from your paid traffic to get your lead magnet. And there's also JV traffic, but this is an internal launch. We'll talk about that in the next section. So, standard sideways sales letter. Go watch lesson 1, and you're going to see how to do this. So after PLC 4, now you have people buying from you. And generally, this is going to be a bigger launch for you because you have a bigger list than compared to a seed launch. But this is the thing, the dollars is just part of the awesomeness. You also get buyers, or what was our word we were going to use? Go ahead, type it in the comment. I want to get you used to this. Because this is one way I can just tilt the universe. That's great. But you now have a buyer's list. And remember how much more powerful a buyer's list? Go ahead, type that in the comments. I want to drill this into you. How much more valuable was that buyer's list than an email list? A lot more powerful. I gave you a number. It's not a perfect number, but it's a very, very strong estimate. So you have a buyer's list. And then the other thing, so you got dollars, you've got a buyer's list. There's this thing, and you're going to hear this in the case studies as we go through this masterclass. It's something called the launch echo. The launch echo is all the other extra amazing things that come into your life because you did this. You created value, value, value. And an echo could be things like you start to get invited to talk on podcasts. You start to get invited to go speak on stages. You have people that want to come work for you, be part of your team. You have people that want to promote for you, that want to be joint venture partners. You have people that want to be content partners. You get this positioning. You start to be seen as an expert in your market or niche, all because of this. So the dollars from an internal launch are amazing. The first, I don't know, a dozen launches I did were all internal launches, and they made me a lot of money, and they changed my life. I used one of them to come up with a down payment for the home. That's the home I still live in 20 years later, but I needed a big down payment, so I did an internal launch, made everything I needed for that big down payment for my house. So dollars are amazing, but the buyer's list in the long run is probably going to be more powerful because you're eventually going to do another launch for another product because you'll always be launching. That buyer's list is going to respond. I mean, when I did, let me go to the comments and see if we got our answer. See if we got the answer. 15 times from John. Awesome. Joy said 15 times. Everyone. So this is 15 times. So what I mean, 15 times. So what I mean is, let's say you had a 10,000 person email list. And that might sound like impossible, but plenty of people do. Everyone starts from zero. Everyone builds no one is born with a list. No one comes out of the womb with a list. Everyone starts from somewhere. And so can we all accept this, that there are people in the world that have email lists of 10,000? So if they have it, you can have it. There are people with lists of 100,000. So if they have it, you can have it. There are people with 1,000. So if they have it, you can have it. Let's just establish it. So say you do this. And the next time around, maybe you have this 10,000 person list. And that 10,000 person list might generate, again, no, I'm making these numbers up. These aren't income claims. That 10,000 person list might generate $15,000 or $50,000. But let's say in this time you've built up a 1,000 person list. That 1,000 person list, that might make, it could make like 80,000. And I don't know if that math works as 15 times, but getting $5 per lead from a list you already have isn't out of the realm. But getting $80 from a buyer's list is possible. So I probably really messed up my math there. That would make this, let's see. That math about works out at 15 times. It's a little more than 15 times. But that's why I'm saying it's so powerful to have a buyer's list. Now, this is fairly advanced stuff. It might seem like simple math, but so many people miss this. This is the way you build a business. So I'm here to help you launch, and we're talking about launching products and services and memberships, but really, we're talking about launching a business that's going to give you a long-term income, long-term lifestyle, long-term impact. So, let's just theoretically, $130,000 launch. This list is 10 times bigger than this list, but this list gave you a lot more sales. That's why it's so important to get a buyer's list. That's why your first launch is never your last launch. So, boom, there you go.
So we've got, so before you flip over there, so with you talking here about always be launching, we've got a couple questions about that and about how often is, like for someone who's starting out new, someone who's got a smaller list, how often should they be trying to launch something new here?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it varies depending on, and by market, by what your market or niche is, where you are, what your experience level is, how hard you want to work, how much you want to put into it, what your resources are. But I'll tell you that typically, I think our typical PLF owner is probably going to be launching 2 to 3 times a year. I'd say 4 would be pretty aggressive. And if you're going to do 4, you're probably going to do a relaunch, which we'll talk about in lesson 3. So, you might have 2 main products and you're launching 2 to 3 times a year. But this launch There's a pre-launch sequence right here. We haven't talked about that yet. We will in lesson 3. And there's a post-launch sequence here. And the post-launch sequence is actually starts to set up the pre-launch. So like if we could just imagine the post-launch, and the post-launch is where you're working with all your new owners. We've got a squirrel. His tail is just out of the way. Oh yeah, he'll come back. There he is.
We've got a squirrel, folks.
We
actually have a squirrel.
It's been a long drought, but the squirrel has come back. And I think one of the reasons we have a squirrel cam is it's just such a joke because, so many people have a hard time staying focused. And I think entrepreneurs more than anyone else have a hard time staying focused. And it's always there's a squirrel, 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 squirrel. We've got so many ideas. So when we had a squirrel show up, it's like a metaphor for entrepreneurs, and we had to go with it. So there we go. We got ourselves a squirrel.
Now there would just be like a riot on the team if we didn't show the squirrel and you showed up,
Right.
You got to keep your team happy.
Yeah. Our team, we use Slack to communicate because we're all virtual. The team's all over the place. They're not local here with me. And so we use Slack to communicate, and we have squirrel emojis and that. Like when things are really going well, we want to give people like a high five. You're doing great. They send squirrel emojis back and forth.
They're literally getting there's squirrel emojis scrolling up in Slack right now in the team.
Yeah. So where were we at, Dan?
That's a great question.
That's the problem with squirrels.
You're talking about how often to launch. But I think another thing is the progression that we see people do. We see people move from one type of launch to another type of launch. It's not like people just keep doing a seed launch for the same product over and over.
Right. And we're going to get to that in lesson 3. And we're about to get to it in the Circle of Awesome in a couple pages here, but then we'll go deeper in lesson 3 on that. But here, if you're post-launch, that's where we were. If you're post-launch, which we'll talk about in lesson 3, it's about delivering to your new owners, right? But it's also, you probably built your list, because a lot of times when you go through an internal launch, you will build your list by word of mouth because you're delivering so much value. So we have a case study, I can't remember who it is. Oh, it was Amanda and Jonathan. They had a list of 2,000 and they did an internal launch, and that grew to 4,000 just by word of mouth. So now you've got a new list. So this post-launch is working with your buyers, giving them a great experience, and it's also continuing your relationship with your new subscribers, because the best way to always be building your list is to launch. We'll get to that coming up in the next lesson. The best way to grow a list is with a launch. So now you've got these new people you're taking care of in post-launch, and that actually starts to set up your pre-launch here, again in lesson 3, pre-launch, and then that sets up your next launch. So even though you're between launches, this is long-term business building. This is how businesses get built in the long term. Okay, let's jump forward to the JV launch. And I know I'm packing a lot in here, and I know, but just stick with me. Okay.
Comment below, guys. Is this too much information? Should Jeff just, stop and, just like go take a nap?
You're baiting them, Dan. You're just absolutely baiting them. Okay, so we've already been through this piece before, right? You guys know what this is, right? It's the opt-in with the lead magnet. You see how these pieces all fit together? And then there's your list. Okay, so now the difference here is you have affiliate partners or joint venture partners. So this is an affiliate launch or a joint venture launch. So let's just say this is where other people have done the hard work to build a list and to build a following, to build a tribe, to build a community, whatever word you want to use. They've already done that hard work to build that list. Whatever market you're in, there are people that already have a following, that have done that work. So this is where those folks tell their list about you. So maybe it's Sam and Julie and Frank and Beth and Amanda. And let's say each of these people is like a leader or a thought leader or an influencer or an expert or a guru in your market. And they tell people about your really cool lead magnet. And so those people come here to opt in, and then they get on your list. And then you take your list and you run them through your sideways sales letter. Now, why would these people tell their people about your launch? Because you can track, and this all happens automatically. There's just software that will do this for you. You put on your page, and when someone opts in from Sam's list, it will track until the sale is made. And then when you make the sale, then you'll send commissions to Sam. And you'll send commissions to Julie. And you'll send commissions to Frank. And you'll send commissions to Beth and to Amanda. This is very, very powerful. So let's just say each of these people has 10,000 people on their list. Again, you can imagine that there are lists that exist, email lists that exist in the world that have 10,000 people. There's plenty of them. And you get 5 partners to mail, and that's 50,000 people that are hearing about you. 50,000. Now, not every one of them is going to open up that email and click on the email, but let's just say that 10% click through to your opt-in page. So that means 5,000 people have now come to your opt-in page. You see how this can get super powerful? Now, not all of them are going to say, yeah, I want your lead magnet. I want to learn about the 100 best songs to play or whatever. But let's just say 40% do, which is not out of the realm of possibility, especially coming from JV traffic. That's what it calls JV traffic. That's that traffic they're sending you. This is great traffic because generally when they send out their email, they're going to say, oh, yeah, Jeff's awesome. Go check out his awesome thing. So they already have this relationship with their people, and this is called endorsed traffic. Endorsed traffic. They tell people you're awesome. They don't just say, click this link. They say, Jeff's awesome. Go get his really awesome thing. So it's not unusual to get a 40% opt-in rate. So the opt-in rate is what percentage of these people join your list. So if you had 50,000 people mailed, 10% clicked, 40% opt-in, you would have 2,000 people join your list. You see how this can work? And the thing is it's breathtaking how fast this, there's work involved in building these relationships. There's work involved in setting this up. But when you hit the gas pedal on this, it's just breathtaking how it takes off. 2,000 people on your list, potentially within days. Okay, so now here's the cool thing. I showed you their mail in PLC 1, but what you do is you have a mail PLC 2 and PLC 3 and even into the 4th one. And so we got 5,000 people to opt in for that first one. Or I'm sorry, 2,000. 2,000. We got 2,000. 5,000 would have been cool, but these people would need bigger lists. Now, when they mail for the second one, you're probably not going to get 2,000 people again because the hyper responsives, the people that are most responsive, already came through and joined. But you would probably get like 1,500. All these numbers holding the same. And PLC3, you would probably get another 1,500, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500. So now all of a sudden, with this one JV launch, you've added 5,000 people to your list. And it happened like that. Boom. I'm talking about days, like 6, 8, 10 days, and you've just added 5,000 people. And of course, that's just with 5 partners. You could have more than 5 partners. Or they could have bigger lists. Or they could have more responsive lists. But even if they were small, you cut all these numbers in half, you've added 2,500 people to your list. That's how this thing blows up in a big, big way. Now, before I ever did a JV launch, my biggest launch was $110,000. And believe me, that was life-changing. That was the one that gave me my down payment for my home. The first time I did a JV launch, $600,000. So more than 5 times bigger when I went to my very first JV launch. My next JV launch, $3.7 million. That shows you the power. I like to say it's like pouring gasoline on a fire or petrol on a fire. It's just, you have this nice fire going at your internal launch, you put gasoline or petrol on it, boom. That's what a JV launch does for you. It's more complicated, there's more work, you need to build these relationships, but it's breathtaking. Probably shouldn't be your first launch. What you should do is do a seed launch, make the course, then do an internal launch, get your PLC dialed in, then come back and do this JV launch. So, okay, what do you get from it? You get the dollars, which now we're talking big, big dollars. Okay, what else do you get? You get a big buyer list. What else do you get? You get a huge echo. Because now you have 5 people saying, oh, Jeff's amazing, Jeff's amazing, Jeff's amazing, Jeff's amazing. Or who wants to do a JV launch? First person here that tells me you want to do a JV launch, I'll use your name as an example. First person, Dan, let me know when someone wants to do a JV launch. But you're having all these people tell their lists, tell their 50,000 people that you're amazing. That's incredible expert positioning for you. It's super, super, super powerful. And you also get a great big prospect list. Again, you got 5,000 people. When I've done this, I've had times that in my JV launches, I'll add 50,000, 60, 70. I've had times 80, 90,000 people within like 10 days. Now, obviously, I've built relationships. I'm in a market where there's big lists, but this is breathtaking. So you get dollars, you get buyers or owners, you get the echo, the launch echo, all these great things of all these people hearing how amazing you are, and you get this great big list. So do we have a taker on the JV echo?
We got a few people who are looking to do some JV launches here. We got someone who wants to do a JV launch with you.
That's awesome. Here, I just refreshed, I see Ron. Is that right? Yeah, Ron. So it's like all these people. Ron's amazing. Ron's amazing. Ron's amazing. Ron's amazing. Ron's amazing. You see how that can be incredibly powerful. So that's the JV launch. It's amazing. It's awesome. Now, we're going to go on to launch stacking. Launch stacking. And remember to ask your questions. We're going to be getting into our question segment very soon. So this is the deal. I've already gone over this a few times. You start off with that seed launch, right? Here, we'll go red here. We'll start off with this seed launch. And maybe, I gave that example, you have 300 people, right? 300 people, you get on your seed list. Maybe do a launch of $2,000. This is not an income claim, not a promise. I'm making it up. But let's just say you do, it's conceptually, let's all agree it's conceptually possible to do a $2,000 launch. You do that $2,000 launch, and what did you do? You built your online course. How cool would it be to have an online course that you're selling every day, that now you're in this game, this amazing game of having online courses. So now you go from there and you go into your launch. You built the product out. And maybe in this process, in this seed launch and starting to publish and starting to build a following, you've got 1,000 people on your list. And maybe with that first internal launch, you do $20,000 launch. Amazing, amazing, right? So then you go from there, and in that process of doing that internal launch, some people have started to notice, and you found, meaning other people in your market, other publishers, other experts, leaders, influencers, they've started to notice. And they say, hey, that launch looked pretty cool. I bet you converted pretty well for you. I bet you made a lot of sales. Looks like a cool product. How about if we tell our people about it? And so now maybe you get a few partners. You build your list from 1,000 up to 5,000, and maybe you do a $60,000 launch. Okay. Amazing. 60,000. You 10x'd, tripled. Incredible. So one of the big things that happens as you do this, as you start to have this conversation, the launch conversation, I like to call it, you have this launch conversation with your people. And now you got 5,000 people you can talk to, 5,000 people you can interact with. They'll start to tell you about what they want next, what your next offer should be. So now you've got this great idea for this next offer. What do? You go back and do a seed launch and you create a product around that. But now, when you do that seed launch, instead of having 300 people, you have 5,000 people. So now, this seed launch, there's no reason a seed launch has to be 2,000. Now with 5,000 on your list, who knows? It could be, I'm just making this up. No income claims, making stuff up. Maybe it's 40,000. And in that process, you've built your list even further. But maybe you go into here now with a 6,000 person list, and instead of doing a $20,000 launch, maybe you do a $100,000 launch. And now you're starting to really attract attention because you're doing cool things. And the people, the other leaders in your market will start to notice. And now you get some more partners in here. And what happens here? All of a sudden, if you have 2 or 3 times more partners, what happens to your list build and your launch? And this is what we call the circle of awesome. Because your list keeps on growing, your offers keep on getting better, you get better at talking to your market, you get better at articulating your offers, you get better at doing your launches, and they keep on getting bigger and bigger. And that's what we call launch stacking. You use the circle of awesome and you stack your launches and they get better and better. You're always launching, because the market's telling you what to do. The market's telling you what your next product is, what your next offer is. Boom, there you go, circle of awesome. So Dan, what do please ask questions. Question mark, please ask questions, and please always be launching and always be building your list. We got any questions? Because we're about to jump here.
Here's one we got from, and actually we've got a couple different questions along this similar sort of vein. But this one's from Buffy Knowlton, and she's just asking how to find these affiliates, and particularly how to find trustworthy affiliates who are going to send people that, who are good, and then how to develop a relationship, and how to navigate those waters. Yeah,
so this is a really big question, really big, so I'll go just super quick. So first of all, it's easy to find the leaders in your market. I mean, if you just go search on whatever your topic is, if it was guitar, learn guitar, you go search learn guitar in Google and see who the top people are, both in the ads and in the organic, in the organic listings. And you should absolutely go join the top 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 sites. They're all going to be building their lists, because if they're in business, if they're successful, they're all building their lists. So go join their lists. Set up a second email address so it's not coming into your main email. Set up a second email address. Go join their lists. Figure out what they're doing. Start to look for the ones that you resonate with, because some of them you're just like, I don't really like what they're publishing. I don't like what they're teaching, but other ones will resonate with you. So then you create sort of a list of what would be my top 50 dream affiliates, my top 10 dream affiliates, my top 5 dream affiliates. And then you start building a relationship with them. And building a relationship in an online business is like any other relationship. It goes slowly and it progresses through time. So, a great thing to do is to follow them. Another place to find them is just go on Instagram. Search there on Instagram for whatever the topic is. Go search in forums. It's easy to identify who they are. If you start following them, you'll start to understand which are the ones that you want. And then you build that relationship. Social media is a great way to start building a relationship. Getting out to events is a great way to start building a relationship. And there are people, like the person who said they wanted to JV with me, maybe that'll work out, I don't know. But the reality is there's a hierarchy in any market of the absolute most powerful JVs, and this is no judgment of people's value, but it's the judgment of people's power in the market. And the very, very top people are going to be tougher to get on their radar, because they have so much coming. They have such what I call deal flow. They've got so many deals coming to them. They've got so many people writing to them. They've got a big business. They've got a big team. They're just scattered. They've got too many opportunities. So those people are hard to reach. And the B people are hard to reach. But once you drop down to the E people, they're easier to reach, easier to build a relationship, and they can still help you out quite a bit as a JV. And and you start working further down the food chain. Again, this is no judgment of people's self-worth or their value, but there are people that are easier to reach, and they're the people with the smaller followings. They're the people with 10,000 Insta followers instead of 2 million Insta followers. It makes sense? Intuitively, it should. And then you just start working your way up, and eventually, a few years from now, then you might have the big A players. So, there you go. So I know I've moved quick. I've covered a lot of ground. But one of the things I love to do is I'm not going to call this theory because this has been proven over and over and over. This is a well-worn path, and it works. Those 3 launches are a well-worn path, and they work. But I want to take it from the conceptual to make it very, very real for you. So I would like to roll a case study for you, and this is with Kathy Hay. I've known Kathy for a number of years now, and I just love what she's doing. So let's go ahead and roll. I'm here with Kathy Hay, who's just got a very interesting niche. So Kathy, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And could you just tell us a little bit about your business?
I have a very unusual online business. I have a membership. I don't have a whole suite of products. I just have one membership. And it has been around 12 years now. And it is about how to make corsets and historical costumes. Which is a bit unusual.
Yeah, so, and just to clarify, because I've heard you say this before, we're not talking courses, not like digital courses,
Yes.
Online courses. We're
Yes,
talking
often when I say to people what I do, they're like, oh, you create courses. No, corsets, like that.
Yes, and very beautiful, elaborate, just their works of art.
Like Victorian clothing, yeah. Clothing how it was 100, 200, 300 years ago.
Very cool.
We go and back through the archives and figure out how it was done.
And so, and you do that. I mean, you're an artist. I've seen some of your work. You're just an absolute artist. And but what your membership site is about teaching people how to do this and showing them how to do it.
That's right. Yes. So I have a ton of different writers working for the membership, and I have 3 coaches as well who give people feedback in our community, so they get individual feedback on their projects, and it's 1 article a week, 1 live call a month, and we have so far at the moment we have about a 96% retention rate from month to month.
Wow. Congratulations. That's amazing.
It dips to 93 in January, because people are cutting back, but
I love it. So there's got to be people that are watching this right now that are like, okay, like that, it seems like a very small market. I mean, how can you actually have a business and make a living teaching people how to sew super elaborate corsets?
Yeah. Well, that's what I always thought. I started out back at the beginning in 2007. I thought, well, it'd probably work to open a business about just sewing in general. That's a hobby. There are magazines about that. There are communities for that. That would work. But, I didn't have to make money right now. So I thought, well, I really want to have the Hogwarts of sewing and do Victorian sewing. And I could just play around for a couple of months, and then I'll start it properly and do the sewing thing. But I just want to play for a couple of months, even if nobody joins. And here we are 12 years later. It worked so well because it was so specialized, because the people who are interested in what I do are blown away that there's a membership for this. Wow, I can learn how to do this. And also it works because historical costume is something that you only do if you're really passionate about it and if you're really ambitious. So really it's the most ambitious, passionate seamstresses and dressmakers who want to do this. So it's easy to find them by saying, oh yeah, learn to make a corset.
So I just it was such an important lesson that you just spoke there, Kathy.
Yeah.
That there is huge power in niching down and getting very, very specific.
Yes. That's the way you can differentiate yourself. There are lots of resources for sewing in general, but the idea that there's something out there specifically for you if you're going to that Victorian ball, And there are Victorian balls. And if you're dressing up in historical costume, there's something out there just for you. And it's particularly an area where there's not as much information out there. So whereas you can find sewing books in every bookstore, to find something about doing this specifically is much more difficult. So if there's a place online where people can go and get everything they need in that niche, then, oh, wow, there's something about this. This is made for me. I have to join. I mean, when I first opened it, when I first launched in 2007, I had people saying, I can sign up twice if you want, because I just want to make sure that this keeps going. Just let me know, because this is just so awesome and it needs to be shared and supported because it's so perfect for us in our tiny little niche.
That's fantastic. So for everyone watching at home, we're going to get to some of the specifics and some of the numbers, because people might be watching this like, oh, okay, that's a nice little hobby you've got going, but it's a real business. You've got people working for you. It's like for real.
That's right.
And so
there are 7 of us.
Yes, 7 of you. And so we're going to get to that in a minute, but can you just talk about it's because we've now known each other for, at least 3 or 4 years.
4 years.
Yes, you've had a journey now with Product Launch Formula. Can you talk a little bit about that? And, just full disclaimer, you had this membership site going before PLF, and now
I did.
and then you got involved in PLF, and things have changed.
Yeah.
So could you just talk about the evolution and some of the things you've learned and seen and done?
Yes. Well, when I first opened it, way back when, 12 years ago, I kind of dabbled in this world of what they called internet marketing at the time. And I tried to have a convincing sales page and all of that. And my friends just started saying to me, oh, honey, just stop. You're just embarrassing yourself. It's just, you're putting people off, really. Just let it spread gradually by word of mouth. Let people find you and it will be fine. So I just carried on just letting it grow very gradually. And it grew over those years like this, 7 years. It very, very gradually grew. And it got to the point where, I was fine. I was living with a partner who was making most of the family income. So it didn't matter as much. It was just pocket money. And then it came to the point where that relationship ended and I needed to move out and support myself. So I needed a little bit of help. So that's when I went back and found you. So since then I first of all started doing I found within the PLF course, the quick launch, which is a very, very small, just very quick, just 4 emails. It's fine, it's quick, it's easy. You don't have to actually talk to a camera. So I would do that. And I started the first 3 years or so, I just did little launches and would have little results. Nicer results than before, but just little results. And then just about a year ago, I finally bit the bullet and really did it and did a live launch. Still didn't talk to the camera and sell anything. I just put my coaches in front of the camera and just let them talk. So it was just, my 3 PLCs were just wall-to-wall content and people loved it and people signed up. And then this March, I then edited the recordings of those live workshops and added in all of the mental triggers and the opportunity and all the transformation and all the rest of it. And in the last year, the business has doubled because of that. So finally, we're on that sharp upward trajectory rather than the sort of very incremental word of mouth growth.
Wow.
And nobody seems to be embarrassed anymore. Nobody seems to be put off by what I'm doing at all. They seem to be, I'm encouraging people into the world because I'm making them realize what's possible for them. And just, as you always say, it's selling is sharing your enthusiasm. And that's what I'm doing.
Congratulations.
And it's working.
That's awesome. So, and so you're in the UK. And,
I am.
And I think you've pointed out to me a few times when we've been together and even before we started recording, there's a reputation of people in the UK are just a little bit more reserved.
Yes.
They're not like as loud Americans like me. Right?
Yes.
So, and and
Yes,
it's
this
and
sort
it,
of thing is often described in the UK as very American. So yes. So yeah, you have to come out of yourself a little bit.
you embrace your inner American, maybe,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes, a little bit.
What was
But
the,
yes, I mean, you're enthusiastic too. So, you know, you can do that. We can do that too.
What was that like stepping up, going from doing these little launches, and they were working for you? I mean, they were doing
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
but
On a
then
small scale, yeah, it was working.
but then you just stepped up
But
in
you
a
have to
big
learn
way.
to ask for more. Yeah, you have
Well-
to step up and do a bit more and a bit more.
What was that like, and what did you have to overcome to get there?
To get to the point of being able to talk to camera and stuff. Yeah, it was, well, I had to get over my own reserve. I had to get over that memory of people saying, "Oh, stop it! Really, just stop it! You're embarrassing yourself, and you're putting people off." That had become a whole big limiting belief. So I had to come towards your world, surround myself with people in your community, and get a sense of how, and so that the reality of sharing my enthusiasm and taking that approach to it became more real than the limiting belief talking at me back here. So, you know, it's like they say, you surround yourself with the right peer group and you become the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I started hanging out with you guys, and that, you know, that helped bring out my inner American.
That's great. So can you talk about, because you've made a big impact on the people that you help. Can you just talk about what that's like? What does that feel like to help those people and to see them flourish?
Well, it's extraordinary to see people's sewing projects get better and better, and see their fulfillment, satisfaction at being able to realize their ideas, because they've had this frustration for so long that their hands can't do what their mind is imagining. They've got this grand idea in the mind, but they can't make it happen because they haven't got the skills. So to see them start to make those ideas real is extraordinary and satisfying, and it makes you humble and grateful. And further than that, it has then grown into this whole other world where now that I've got the launches working better, I've been able to concentrate more on the free content. So I started a YouTube channel doing similar weekly videos to yours, in which we look at mindset and what might be holding you back. And that's grown in an extraordinary way over the last 3 or 4 months. That's gone from under 1,000 subscribers to 10,000, and that's been. I intended that just to be just some little fluffy videos that would help people get to know me, so they'd know me and trust me when I started to launch to them. But this has had so much more impact. It's had talking about these things is something that my crowd have not really talked about aloud before. They'll talk about their sewing, but they won't talk about the anxiety they might be feeling, or how they feel like they don't fit in the world. Because people who want to make this stuff, we're a pretty weird bunch. So we don't feel like we fit, you feel like an alien from the planet 1900, and like, really, this is how we really dress. So it's been incredible to watch the response to those videos and the engagement with them. People are really finding something that helps them in their daily life and helps them improve their mental health. And it's extraordinary. I thought it would just be this little side thing, and it's become even bigger. So I can see that there may be something even bigger beyond running a sewing membership. There may be something much bigger that I'm here to do now. And that's the extraordinary gift of being on this journey that you don't realize when you get into it. You get into it to maybe start a business, or maybe fix a business you have that isn't working that well, and you make the money, but then there's a whole other journey that starts when that happens. And the journey you don't even see yet is, I'm not sure I can even describe how it feels. It's profoundly humbling, and to realize that you may be meant for more than you ever bargained for and may be able to make a bigger impact in the world than you ever thought was possible.
That's great. So can we just dive into your launch a little bit, because you just the numbers they're really cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've got this
That's
team
how you
now.
measure it.
So what? Tell me a little bit about the launch and what how it all worked out.
So this time last year, when we were just doing the little baby launches, we had 667 members. We had sales of about $10,000 a month. I mean, it's hard to, with a membership, it's hard to measure by the size of the launch itself, because you get a certain number of members in, and who knows how long they'll stay. So I can do marketer math by the average time they stay, but it's simpler to talk about the monthly sales in my business. So a year ago, it was hovering around $10,000 a month, and now it's over 20,000. So we've doubled those numbers in the last year. Wow. So, you know, we started out doing launches that might bring 60 or 70 new members in. And then we did the biggest one we've done in March was 179 members. So it's just on that trajectory. And it was very, very nearly doing that marketer math with the average number of months a member stays. That worked out as this close to a six-figure launch, this close next time.
Congratulations. That's absolutely amazing. Fantastic. And because you basically doubled your business. You went from $120,000 a year to $240,000 a year, $250,000 a year. And of course, I'm thinking in dollars. I don't know if you price in dollars or pounds.
No, that is dollars. Yeah.
Cool.
We do working.
And cool. And so and so you're planning your next launch to be even bigger and better. And now with the bigger reach on YouTube, it's for you're going to drive.
Who knows?
You'll drive people from your YouTube channel to email.
Yes.
Launch to them, and it's going to be that much.
It's like with each successive launch, you look at what was the biggest bottleneck, or what was the biggest weakness, and can we plug that hole and make that part better, rather than trying to do everything perfect out of the gate. I've learned to just tweak one little thing at a time and make it gradually better and better. So that should make a big impact on the next one.
Yeah. Well, Kathy, it's been great to watch your journey, and congratulations. I'm willing to like round up and call that a six-figure launch. But if you want to hold, if you want to hold back and say I missed it, so that gives me more fire for the next one, because I think with your bigger reach, I think it's going to be a lot bigger.
I think we're going to send over. Yeah. Yes.
So, Kathy, thanks for joining us. Super appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Is Kathy great or what? I just love her story. I love her market. So she's in corsets. It's a market I didn't really see people doing launches in when I first came out with PLF, but that theme keeps coming up for me. So I loved how she talked about digging deep within niches. It wasn't just about sewing, it was about sewing corsets and sewing really elaborate, fancy ones. How about that part about don't embarrass yourself? Just let it go. Don't embarrass yourself. That's what I talked about way back when I was talking about that mental game and how to stay on top of it, and no one does this alone. You need a community to support you. She started with a quick launch. I saw a question come in on the comments. The quick launch we'll talk about in lesson 3. She did a launch for a membership. This is the key so memberships are great. Online courses are great. I've done both of them. I've been doing both of them for a long time. The one thing about memberships is if you're going to have a membership, you have to launch. You can't limp a membership out there and hope a few people join, because if just 2 or 3 people join, then your community is going to be a complete ghost town. And ghost towns become ghost towns and stay ghost towns. So if you're going to do a membership, you need to launch more than any other product, service, anything. Memberships need a launch. Her internal launch doubled her business. She went from $10,000 a month to $20,000 a month. So she started with a quick launch, which I haven't taught you about yet in lesson 3. And then she jumped to her internal launch and she doubled her business. How about her YouTube channel? And that's that always be building your list. So social, it's great to build a following, but you want to drive them over to your email list. I already talked about that several times today, but she's always building her list by putting out a weekly video. And I love just when she talked about, I started this and people told me not to be, I'm embarrassing myself, but she's gone from that to building something substantial to thinking, wow, there might be something even bigger for me. And if that's my mission, is to have a bigger vision of your future than you have for yourself. And we all have something great inside of us. And that's what this masterclass is about. At the end, at the core, that's really my message to you. Okay, so I have another case study for you. This one's with Bonnie Christine. And this one is ridiculous. Just ridiculous numbers. Bonnie started off as an artist, sort of a starving artist, wanting to, figure out a way to make $12,000 from her art. And just, you're not going to believe what happened. Let's roll Bonnie. I'm here with Bonnie Christine, and Bonnie's got just an absolutely remarkable story of her business over the last couple of years. So Bonnie, welcome, and can you just tell everyone a little bit about your business and what's happened for you for the last few years?
Yeah, Jeff, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. I am a surface pattern designer, which means that I create artwork for products like fabric and wallpaper, and I teach other people how to do the same thing. Do you want me to go back to the beginning?
Yeah, let's start at yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I began in around 2009. I had this huge goal of becoming a fabric designer. I had no formal training and no real idea how to get there. So over the course of the next few years, I really studied and learned how to do it and became a fabric designer in 2012. That process of learning on my own really inspired me to teach. I never set out to be a teacher, sort of came to me after really realizing how hard it was to learn and wanting to make that easier for other people. So I started teaching right away other people how to do the same thing, become a fabric designer or a surface pattern designer. I taught on other platforms for several years and really wanted to bring it all back to my own website and where I was. I had a huge idea for a course that I wanted to do. Didn't really know how to make it happen. So that is when I found you, Jeff. In 2016, I stumbled upon your free training for PLF. So I went through your training, and at the time, didn't have the what I needed in order to make anything happen right away. So it was about a year that went by before I just tried to implement what I had learned in your free training. I printed all the sheets. I still had them. I went back to them, and at the time, so this was in the fall of 2017. I had an email list of about 4,400 people, and my open rates were a staggering 6%, which is about as bad as they get. So I really buckled down, and over the next 3 or 4 months, focused on my email list. I sent a re-engagement email, I built a nurture sequence, and I really began communicating with my list regularly and personally. I asked them to respond, I responded, and I grew this list by February of 2018 to 8,800 subscribers, and I had increased my open rates to 58%. That's like a 900% open increase. And so I had got my course together and decided to launch it. And at this time, I had really just tried my best at everything I had heard you talk about. None of it was very clear. None of it was executed perfectly on my end. I just dabbled in what I thought I could handle at the time. I launched this course over an 8-day period. It was a $997 course, and I had 342 students join me. So this in 2018 was a complete eye-opener and life changer moment for me. Throughout that course, the students, so it's an 8-week course, the students did phenomenally well. I had 0 refund requests, and really saw that group of women flourish and go on to be incredibly successful. So that brings me to.
So, but hold on. 342 people at basically at $997. So that's $340,000. I mean, what did that feel like?
Okay, so that was incredible. My goal for that course was 100 people, and I felt that even that goal was one that I wasn't really comfortable saying out loud. But I knew it was a big week. I knew that I had done everything that I could in my power to, make it successful, and it was very successful. And just like you say, the first day is pretty big, and the last day is even bigger. And that has been true with every launch I've ever done, and has surprised me every single time as well.
So you did that $340,000 launch, and then what happened?
Oh, Jeff, it was eye-opening, and it was honestly life-changing for me. My goal for that launch was 100 people, and it was really, in my mind, a stretch goal, one that I wasn't really comfortable even saying out loud. And so to see that launch do so well when really I had just barely attempted to do the things I knew I should be doing, I knew that I could do them much better, and it really lit a fire under me to really go from there and do better moving forward.
Well, congratulations. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. So you had started with this list of 4,400, which, a lot of people, they wonder, how do you do that? But like you said, it was a cold list, and they weren't open your emails. So you buckled down, you doubled the size of your list. You said, there's so much in there that I love. You said that your launch wasn't perfect, that you said parts of it weren't clear, that but imperfect action wins the day. I'm a huge fan of imperfect action. So congratulations on that. It's amazing. It's an amazing result.
Thank you so much.
So I like to say that your first launch is never your last launch. So I imagine, and I'm cheating because I know the future here, but I'm foreshadowing. So you did $340,000, and you did that just to underline off the free training, the free training, and then what happened next?
Yeah, that's right. So after that launch, just a few months afterwards, I went through your launch formula for the first time, and was really able to get clarity around all of the strategies to put into place moving forward. And at that point, I could see so clearly what I had done that I could do better, and how I could layer in a couple of things to make it a more enjoyable experience for the people that I was launching to. Because I feel like that's a big part of it, is just making it a fun and enjoyable experience, and a valuable experience, regardless of whether people buy or they don't buy. So that was in the fall of 2018. I relaunched my course, Surface Design Immersion, in February of 2019. This time, I won't say it was perfect. I don't know that I'll ever have a perfect one, but it was much more precise. I had implemented so many more things that I had learned from you over the course of the year. So I had again doubled my email list. This time was up to around 18,000. My open rates were still really good, hovering around 45 or 50%. And this time I introduced some JV partners. So this was an 8-day launch in February, same course price, so $997, and welcomed 621 students in the course. So that was around 650,000. So doubled that. 137 of those were from JV affiliates. And again, had just an incredible course experience for the students and for myself. I also have a membership for surface pattern designers and have run several smaller launches to the membership. I've applied all of the same techniques and strategies and have seen similar success in the membership as well. So I think I've done 5 proper launches with the launch formula.
That's amazing. Congratulations. So it sounds like you've put close to 1,000 people into the course. We'll leave the membership aside for a moment.
Yes.
So 1,000,
Yep.
can you talk about the impact you've had on them? You see, you're clearly passionate about helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about launching and we're talking about money. And to me, the thing that is so much more of an indicator to success is the results and the impact that you're able to make with what you are offering to the world. And so through my course, I really teach people, whether they have any experience or not, how to create artwork and license it on products around the world. And the stories that I've heard from students have just absolutely blown me away. Story after story about women who've been able to quit their day jobs and work full-time from home or alongside their children, or perhaps bring their husband home from the workforce, has just been incredible. Seeing these women be able to really make profit and make a living off of something that was their biggest passion beforehand has been by far the biggest reward to me.
That's great. So you're now, it's been just like 2 years, right? I mean, and you're closing.
It's been just like 2 years.
And you've closed, this business has got to be closing in on $1 million and what is that like to go from, in 2 years, basically starting out to having, let's just call it a nearly $1 million business?
Yeah. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I don't even know that I can put words to it. For my family, it's been absolutely life-changing. It's meant that we've been able to be completely debt-free. And it's also meant that we can be more generous and make a bigger impact in our community. It's been just something that I never thought I would be talking about, never thought was possible, and now has just inspired me to keep going and help other people realize what's possible for them.
You know, there's this term, the starving artist, and for whatever reason, I actually think of myself as an artist. I have a lot of artistic pursuits. I think of what I do in business as art. So I think I attract a lot of artists. And there's that phrase, the starving artist, which I don't really like that phrase very much. But I imagine at one point in your life where you were thinking, I just wanted to make that $12,000. You're an artist. Clearly you're an artist. And you trained to be an artist.
Yeah.
And there might have been a time in your life where you're just like, I just hope I can make a living, scratch by as an artist. And you've gone from there to being, a very successful artist now and helping so many artists. What do you think about that term, starving artist, and what it means in the current world?
Yeah, we hear it all the time. And for a little while, I was a starving artist. We had several years where we were barely scraping by. But to me, the starving artist all comes down to a mindset. And I talk about kind of mindset a lot because in terms of being an artist, I think that starving is in direct opposition of flourishing. And so anytime that we have like a fearful mindset or a starving artist mindset, we've got to shift gears and think about how we can be a flourishing artist and what the exact opposite action of that kind of fearful, starving mindset is. And when you realize that the whole world is open to you and that there are ways that you can be a flourishing artist, it's really an eye-opening experience.
That's amazing. So, Bonnie, congratulations on your path so far. I can't wait to see what the next few years will hold for you. It's just been a remarkable couple of years.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I couldn't have done it without you.
How amazing is Bonnie? Now, truthfully, in the comments, when that started out, and she was just talking about herself being a pattern designer, a fabric designer, a wallpaper designer, and she was just hoping to make $12,000. Honestly, at that moment in time, what did you think her results, before she said them, what did you actually think they were going to be? Be honest in the comments. Tell me. I mean, you now know she did $1 million in launches in less than 2 years, well over $1 million, because she just talked about 2 of them. But when that started, what did you honestly think that she did? I mean, absolutely remarkable. How about flourishing versus starving? Flourishing artists instead of starving artists. How about flourishing entrepreneurs instead of starving entrepreneurs? Is that unbelievable? There's so much here. She started with 4,400 people. Again, everyone starts with different places, but it was a dead list. Almost no one was opening it up. But she buckled down when she decided it was time to launch, and she built it up to 8,800 and warmed that list. In fact, Bonnie has agreed to give her re-engagement nurture warm-up sequence to us and let us put that in the product launch formula coaching program as an example, as a case study, as a learning on how to engage your list. So an internal launch, out the gate, $342,000. I don't know if you caught this, but she did that with just my free training. So if there's any question of whether this launch masterclass has got value, $342,000, not too bad, just from the free training. I'm proud of that. JV launch, almost doubled her results, $621,000. She only worked with a few partners, a few affiliates. Amazing. I know we've got questions on affiliates. We'll get to that in just a minute. 2 years, $1 million, more than $1 million, really. If you add this up, just those 2 launches of over 950,000. But she also did 3 other launches. Just crushing it. She talked about a first day and last day of the launch. I'll go deep into that in lesson 4 in the open cart when I teach the open cart. I just loved her talking about, you could just see how she lit up about the impact she was making. And she talked about, that mindset. And that's the same thing we're talking about with Kathy. Don't embarrass yourself. Well, it's important to get your head straight. It's important to understand the value you're delivering. It's important to understand that it's the baby steps. It's important to understand that it's not a straight road to riches. There's going to be setbacks, but it's who you surround yourself with that is going to make the difference. And then generosity. I've seen this over and over. The people in the PLF community, unbelievably generous. I know personally, just within the PLF community, I've raised $1 million for 2 different charities. So $2 million that I've raised just within the PLF community. And that doesn't count the generosity from all these PLF owners that are just doing great things in the world, and it allows them to be generous. So they're amazing. I'm going to go to the comments and see. I only see 6 comments of people being honest and guessing. Actually, are you not listening? Are you not paying attention? I asked you to guess, and no one guessed. I'm frustrated. I've been going almost 3 hours, 2 hours and 22 minutes. Where's the guesses? Okay, I'll tell you what is coming in is the selfies in the Facebook group of you watching this, and we'll be showing a few selfies in just a few minutes when we come back. We've got one more case study. This is with Max. Max, this is a remarkable one as well because he had no experience, was not a marketer. He's in Italy, and he didn't have anything to launch. And yet he said, this formula, it obviously works. I'm going to make it work. So let's roll the video with Max. I'm here with Max Guidi. Max is joining us from Italy. Max, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and your launch? What market
Yeah,
you're in?
of course.
Yeah.
Great. I started the online business in 2015, was December, okay? And what I've done, simply, I was a newbie, I didn't know anything about launches, about digital marketing and something like that. So I started trusting on you, trusting on product launch formula. And I started immediately after that. I watched the product launch formula in one little niche that is yoga business in Italy, so in Italian. So at the beginning, I'm not a yoga teacher, as you can imagine, even if I know pretty much. But I used to have a business partner working in yoga, and so I say, let's start to develop the yoga business using the online technology. And so this is exactly what I've done. After 1 week, I've done my first seed launch. I didn't know more or less what I was doing, but I've seen that some people were following us. And after that, year by year, learning a little bit more, I started to build a real organization, a real business, and until developing an online yoga school right now.
Wow. And so, what I love about it is you just got started right away with that seed launch, moved immediately. But you started with no list. I mean, you couldn't, because this was just an idea. You got a hold of your old business partner, and you started with.
Yes, it's funny because I didn't come from yoga. I used in the past, I used to be a manager in the asset management industry. Then life changed. I passed through divorce, a bad divorce. I have 2 daughters, and I wanted to stay close to my daughter. So no travel anymore. And I was looking for a new job, a new opportunity, a new life, rewrite my life. So I didn't know what to do. And I was a little bit desperate at that moment because I've lost all my money with the divorce, with a lot of other issues. So I was thinking to develop marketing. And when I watched your video, I say, come on, that can be my chance. That can be my opportunity. So I went to a yoga holiday retreat in Tuscany, in Italy, and I've met this lady, Shanti, and I spent 1 week of meditation. This was my first time in my life, and this changed my life. Not only because I've done meditation, I started to learn more about yoga, but after that, I realized that we can do something more viral, helping more people. And Shanti used to have a little list. I probably was around 500, 700, I don't remember. So a little list of people that she's built during the year for people that were attending the yoga retreat, and also for a little blog that she used to have. So after 2 weeks, we decided to do something together, to join. She's the yoga teacher, I'm taking care of the marketing. But the reality, the truth is that I didn't have any idea on how to do. And that's the choice, the real thing. So we started with a little list, and after 1 year, we arrived to increase the list with more or less 6,000 people, until now that we are around 17,000. What I've done was always add value, and during the launch to add more value, and copy and paste, Jeff, what you are doing. Last year, you were starting to do live event. We have done live events. And so I copy and paste, making a lot of mistake. But now I'm okay. My business partner is okay. We can live pretty well. And now also this project is starting to grow and going also outside Italy. And I'm really proud of it.
Wow. And so we're going to get to the numbers of your last launch, which are very impressive in just a minute. But I want to go back to that, to the seed launch. When you did
Yeah.
that first seed launch, because a lot of times people discount the idea of a seed launch. But talk about that launch. Like, did you sell anything in that seed launch? Did you make some sales?
Yeah. I didn't know that I was doing seed launch. The truth is this one. What I was doing is was we arranged for a webinar. Okay, we send an email to the list saying, okay, we will have a webinar where we will talk about yoga. And there were, I think that there was around 70 people that were attending. But the first webinar was not so good. It was so bad because Shanti was talking, but because I'm living in Milan, she's living in Tuscany, in the middle of a mountain. So the reality was that she didn't have a connection. So she was talking, but nobody can listen to her. So the first webinar was, oh my gosh, was terrible, you know? So nobody can hear anything what Shanti was saying. So we do another webinar. This time we have more or less 50 people attending. And this time they can hear what Shanti was saying. And at the end, we have done an offer. We have done an offer to say, okay, if you like what you're hearing, what you're listening, you can go ahead. We can have other 2 webinars. And the first product was, we have sold $97, something like that, a little bit. And we sold 19. And so I say, come on, we've sold 19, more or less $2,000 of income the first time. And I was so shocked because after a couple of weeks doing something easy, it was not easy, but I said, okay, let's do. And we have done our first sale. And I remember that night, and I remember also the name, Mara, of my first client, the first student, and it was amazing.
Yeah, $2,000 right from the start.
$2,000 straight away.
Create the product but okay, so let's step forward into the launch you just did. So I mean, because that 2,000, you just stepped forward and you kept on building your list and building your skills and building the sophistication of your launch. So now, where are you at?
Now, okay, more or less, I've done 2 launches, more or less, because now I segmented the list, you know, I created buckets. So one thing are the students, general students, and from the other side, there are the yoga teachers. So we have one client that is student, the other one is a yoga teacher. So the last launch, okay, now the tool more or less are helping us a lot, and so everything more or less is working. We have done like around 200 people become our students. And the launch was around $90,000. And I'm so happy. I'm so shocked because, and we continue to create the value, you know. And I remember that my first launch, Jeff, we didn't have the product. We have just sold an idea, but the reality at that time was, oh my gosh, now we have to create the product. So Shanti, we have to create a product. Now, more or less, also during the last launch, we created more or less, it was similar to the existing product, but we say that we do some coaching, more information. And a lot of people that already bought in the past, they bought again, just to really continue really a relationship with us. And this is amazing.
Yeah,
and after 1 month, we have done another launch for yoga teacher. And in this case, just a yoga teachers that want to be inside our membership, our program, okay? And we have earned around more than $100,000 also with this launch.
Wow.
And this is something that I'm really proud of, because not only now we are helping normal people, but we are helping yoga teachers that are going to help other people. And so we are going viral. Think of you and product launch formula, Jeff.
That's amazing. So the $80,000 launch was more for students, for people that wanted to learn yoga, get better at yoga, create a home practice, whatever. And the $100,000 launch was for yoga teachers, so a train for teachers. So between the two, $180,000, amazing, incredible. So are you reaching, and this is all in Italian? You're teaching in Italian?
Everything is in Italian, only for Italian people. The majority are living in Italy, some are living in Switzerland, in US, in Brazil, but it's Italy is a little country,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And at the beginning, you know, a lot of people are thinking, is this program, product launch formula, working outside the US? And I was thinking, yes, that's not the problem. That's not the point. Because action, and when you believe, you trust, and you are doing, this is the key. So it's working. It's working in Italy, it's working in Europe, it's working everywhere. Just we have to follow exactly step by step the process.
Wow. And so what's next for you? I mean, obviously that's an amazing, because you did those launches in a relatively short period of time, huge growth for you. What are you planning on now?
Well, the plan is now to increase a little bit the school, because we want to go more viral. So to have more yoga teacher from one side. And now I'm helping them with the marketing tool. What I've done with the Passione Yoga is the name of the project. What I've done with my project, I want to help them and help more yoga teacher to become more visible, to attract more students. So what we want to do is go ahead learning, because I'm newbie as well, but we want to help more yoga teacher to be free, because a lot of yoga teacher in Italy, they don't have their main job as a yoga teacher. Usually they work like an employee, and they are doing like a part-time job, you know. And for me, now a lot of yoga teachers are becoming full-time, focus on their passion, and for me it's great. So I want to help them to become financially, I don't want to say financially free, but to live with their passion,
Mm-hmm. Do you ever stop to think, like, it wasn't very long ago you went through the divorce. It sounds like it was almost like financial ruin. Things were not good financially. You were in a different profession, and you were able to step back and sort of look around, see this opportunity in digital marketing, and you've completely reinvented your life, reinvented your finances, I imagine reinvented your lifestyle, reinvented the work you're doing in the world and the people you're helping in the world. Do you ever stop to think about what that whole transition in just a few short years?
That's the point. I think that that's the point, Jeff. You know, because in the past I used to be I don't say rich, but I have a good life, but I was not happy with my life. I have money, I can travel, but I was not happy with my life. Then I went through trouble. I went to divorce. I was losing more or less everything. You know, I didn't have money. I spent my money for the divorce. And then that moment for me was, oh my God, it was really hard time. And when I started on digital marketing, there was a voice, an inner voice that was telling me, what are you doing, Max? This is not your business. And watching your video, no, I say, no, it's possible. Okay, if other people have done, I can do it. You know, and there was one part that say, no, go ahead. I remember also after my first launch, I was thinking, I'm lucky. You know, I was thinking, Max, this cannot last forever. And it's not easy. It's not easy because this voice, even if I was doing meditation, but this voice was, no, Max, come on. You're lucky for one time, maybe for two times, but you cannot live with with digital marketing. You cannot. And then, of course, you have a partner. If she's changing her mind, everything can happen. But I say, no, I'm adding value. I'm helping people that are helping other people. So now I'm happy. You know, I'm happy because, okay, financially I'm okay. Okay. And from the other side, I'm helping a lot of people to live better. So this completely changed my life, rewrite my life. My family. I marry again. I living with my daughters and with my new wife, Thai wife. I can travel, I can stay in Italy, fly to Thailand or US to meet you, and that's amazing. And this is a great opportunity. And I'm really thankful for you and for everything that you have done. And that's great.
Max, congratulations. It's a remarkable story. You've done a lot of hard work. You've made it happen. I love this. And so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Grazie.
Is Max amazing or what? And how lucky so I just recorded this last week. And so last week I took 4 days and I just recorded all these case studies, and they were 4 amazing days where I just get to hear story after story after story of amazing results, amazing impact. Those were very good days for me. How lucky am I? So yoga in Italian, he said he's a complete newbie, starting over. You know, he had a real setback in his life, and he had to reinvent his life. And I love that he consciously reinvented his life. And did you hear it? It went by really quick, but it was really quick that he wanted to figure out a way to reinvent his life where he had the freedom to be with his daughter. So in lesson 1, we talked about freedom, and one of those freedoms is location freedom and being able to work where you want. And a lot of times people think, well, location freedom means I'm going to live in Bali for a month, and then I'm going to live in Amsterdam for a month, and I'm going to go to New Zealand for a month, and that's a great way to location freedom. But for Max, location freedom was the ability to not have to travel, to be able to be by his daughter. So I absolutely love that. I loved how he talked about just trust the formula and just basically cut and paste and just do the formula. So again, he was not a yoga teacher. He's not a yoga expert. He went to a yoga workshop, met a teacher and said, hey, I've got this launching thing. I think we can market something. We can create an online course. How about we do that? And so they did a seed launch. Well, that yoga teacher had been doing one-on-one work and been doing some workshops, one to small groups. And so had a list of 500 clients. They weren't like, you know, she built up this email list, this email following, this online following, but she had these clients. So she invited them into her seed launch. Max invited them into their seed launch. They did $2,000. Fantastic, awesome, amazing. But then because it was always be building your list, always be launching, they built the list up to 17,000. How? By building value. And then they did a $90,000 launch for yoga students, a $100,000 launch for yoga teachers. 2 different launches, $190,000. They made mistakes, but they did it. And I loved when these themes come about. And this theme of the mindset that Bonnie talked about, and the theme of the mindset that Kathy talked about. And he's like, at first I thought maybe I was just, you know, all these people telling me I can't do it, and then I was thinking maybe I'm just lucky, but just trust the formula. And you get beyond that. So absolutely amazing. By the way, I have this running, if you missed lesson 1, we heard from Amanda and Jonathan in personal finance, Gabriella, do-it-yourself master of fine arts, David and Sean, $100,000 launch, teaching people how to scream. And then on the concierge page, after lesson 1, we had Polly, money mindset. We had Robert, nonprofit, a nonprofit that was struggling, that was about to go out of business. The nonprofit's about mental health. Serious. I think it was a $350,000 launch or something. And then Vanessa and Xander with a online sex therapy business. So there you go. So we're going to get to questions now. We're in questions. Type in your questions. We're going to be taking questions. But first, my team tells me we've got a few selfies that have been posted in the Facebook group. So let's have a look. And I can't read. That's Anna. Is that right? Anna, let's. Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, let's crank through them.
Yeah, we got Anna.
Claus. Josephine, Amy, Renee, Greg, Samantha, Ann, Julie, Margaret, Gail. That's it. There we go. Awesome. Thank you for sharing your work. Okay, let's jump to questions. It's Q&A time. Type in your questions. I'm going to go over and take a look at the comments and see what's happening. Victoria, love you, Jeff, for this. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Victoria. I love that to be the top comment instead of someone being grumpy.
Actually, we've got a question here from Victoria.
Okay.
So Victoria is asking, what do you think about subscription programs? Do you use PLF for a subscription launch? And then would you then launch several more times per year?
Yeah, so I actually answered this question already when I was talking about Kathy and her membership sites. Yes, subscriptions, absolutely. This is the thing about subscriptions. If you're going to fulfill a subscription, whether it's a membership site or it's a subscription for a physical product or any type of subscription, once you start that, then you now have this thing you have to fulfill every month. And what you want to do is you want to put a whole bunch of people in at the beginning, because otherwise, if you're just you're fulfilling on it for just a few people each month and you're hoping to slowly grow it, it gets to be a real pain in the neck to actually have to deliver every month when you're not making a serious amount of money. So the best way to put a lot of people in at the beginning is with a launch. And then if you do that, you can launch multiple times a year. You could launch 4 times a year, 2 times a year. So you might have heard of Michael Hyatt. Many people have heard of Michael Hyatt. He's an amazing person. He's a good friend of mine. He's a leader. He's got a great business, and he started a membership site, and they launched 4 times a year. And then they actually ended up deciding they would just launch twice a year. And they eventually went to just launching once a year because that one launch was so effective, they put as many people in as they did 4 times a year. So if I was just starting out, I would plan on launching 3 times, maybe 4 times a year, create a slightly different offer, which means an extra bonus when someone joins, and start there, and then gradually maybe reduce the number of launches. Great question.
Awesome. Now we've got one from Sandra Lee. She's asking about the seed launch. She's asking if she doesn't already have those 200 to 300 people on her list, should she just go ahead even if she only has 6 people on her list?
No, don't. Get some more people on your list. Now, I've seen seed launches, successful seed launches, work with as few as 50 people on your list. In fact, we have a case study inside the Product Launch Coaching Program of someone that went from 50 persons, that was just her personal contacts, and did a launch and sold 6 spots. And that seed launch eventually grew into a business that did $500,000 in just a few years. And that's in the Product Launch Coaching Program. It's an amazing case study. But 50 people's on the low end. If you've only got 6 people, then you haven't figured out how to attract people, how to resonate with people. You need to work a little bit harder on your lead magnet and driving people to your lead magnet. And that's going really deep on that is beyond what we can do in this free launch masterclass. But yeah, the reality is if you have 6 people, then maybe 1 or 2 of them are going to buy. Even if 100% of them bought, you're a little bit on the low end. One thing I forgot to mention in the seed launch, when I was teaching this, I forgot to mention this. So I'm just going to flash back real quick for those fans of the seed launch. If you're a fan of the seed launch, let me know in the comments. I'm going to look at the comments in just a minute. Say, I'm a fan, or I want to do a seed launch, or just type seed launch, just so I can take the temperature. I'm going to be looking in the comments in just a minute. So remember, I said you want 20 to 30 people. And a big part of this is the interaction. Remember, you run through people's survey, teach, survey, teach, survey, teach. And the survey lets you create a great product because now you know what people want to learn, what they want to know. So the thing is if you start off with 30 people, there'll be 30 people on this first call. And the next call, there'll be 25 people. And the next call, there'll be 20 people. And by the 5th call, there might only be 10 people. That's the way humans are. They get excited about something, and then they fall off. So if you started with 6 people here, by your 3rd call, you might not have anyone actually taking the survey. So that's why you want at least 20 to 30 people in your seed launch.
So I'm about to go over the comments. Let's see if we've got any fans. See if we got any fans of seed launches. We've got some fans. We've got some fans. Cool. Thank you for playing along. We got another question?
Yeah, we do. All right. Next one. We've got one. Let's see. How about this one? We've got one from T. Huckabone saying, actually, we've got a bunch of people asking this similar sort of questions about JV commissions. His particular one is, does the JV partner get commissions only for the launch that they send you someone, or do you keep sending them commissions as that person sticks with you? And then we've got a bunch of just similar sort of questions, just talking about commissions for JVs and how that whole process works.
Okay, so I'll jump into that a little bit. So how about this? Do we have any fans of JV launches? Do those sound interesting to you? So first of all, there's a lot of nuances to working with joint venture partners. There are a lot of nuances. So and at the end of the day, this answers a lot of them, but it's not, in business, I'm going to say something, it's going to sound simple, it might sound a little ridiculous, but it's critical. In business, every deal is a deal. So when you get into business, you're going to make deals with people, and every one of them can be different. And every one of them is what you negotiate and what works well for each side. So typically, or not typically, a lot of times when people send people into your list, it's just for that launch. It's just for that launch. That's common practice, at least in my industry. What we tend to do is we tend to keep on paying people for later launches. So there's ways to technically do it. It's beyond what we can talk about in the Launch Masterclass. There's ways to technically either pay them just for this launch or for subsequent launches or for some of the subsequent launches. In my business, my feeling is the more I can build my partner's business by sending them money, the better. The more money I can send them, the more money I'm making, the more clients I'm getting. And remember, I'm getting buyers. I'm getting people turned from here into buyers. And I'm getting all of this stuff. So we tend to pay people beyond the initial launch. Now, sometimes we'll launch something, maybe it's a super high-end, super expensive thing that's going to take a lot of hand-holding, and maybe we won't pay commissions on that, or we'll pay lower commissions on that. But it's you can decide, every deal's a deal. Write that one down. I know it sounds simple, every deal's a deal. So every single thing you do, it's a negotiation. Part of it is you're romancing these. In fact, I'm going to give you a super, super, super advanced tip. Is that when you're doing a JV launch, this process, you actually use this process to get your partners and to motivate your partners. Now, I don't have time to go deep into this right now, but you basically use the sideways sales letter in a modified form to get your partners excited and to get them on board and get them excited and get them to really ready to launch for you. So yeah, we can go, I could teach a 5-day course on JVs. In terms of percentages to pay them, every deal's a deal. So a very typical might be for a digital product, could be 40%, 50%, could be 30%, it could be 60 or 70%. It's whatever works for you in terms of your math and whatever attracts these folks. So can you attract them by paying a higher commission? Can you attract them by paying for future launches? And these are long-term relationships. Like I've got partners, my business, I do JV launches. You might have come to this launch through one of my JV partners. Well, pretty much all of our partners, I've had dinner with. I've usually had dinner with them multiple times. I have their cell phone numbers. We text back and forth all year long. I know about their family. I know about their lives. I know about their interests. Many of them have been partners of mine for 3 years, 5 years, some of them 10 years. So this is a long-term, huge business building deal, but the answers to these nitty-gritty questions is every deal's a deal. How are you going to take care of them? How are you going to build value? We've heard a lot about building value from our case studies. How are you going to build value for these people?
Because if you're going to do a joint venture launch, your business is about building value for these people. And is there other specific JV ones that are granular that I didn't sort?
Yeah, we've just had a bunch of them just about how to, what kind of commissions to pay, or different questions like that. But I think you more or less got that one there.
Okay.
Okay, so then next up we have Kendra. Kendra's asking, what type of launch should you do if you have a list, but you don't have a product?
If you have a list, but you don't have a product, I would do a seed launch. It's just a no-brainer. I mean, I'm not going to pop back there right now, but it's just, that's the way you create a great online course. I mean, because online courses are a great product. And I know we have some questions about physical products, and this works for physical products. It's basically the sideways sales letter. It's slightly different. I've got some cool, very cool case studies coming up for you on physical products, and you're going to see how it's done. But online courses are amazing. If you look at the growth in that market, it's crazy. It's just, I think it's into the billions of dollars per year, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. So online courses are great. So if you have a list, you've done that heavy lifting already to build a list. Now just do a seed launch and build a great online course for them. It's that simple.
This is something I remember we were even talking about a whole lot during the case studies, about how it just seems like it just seems like people are just getting bigger and bigger results and better results all the time from these online courses.
Absolutely. It's been like, these aren't the first case studies I've done. The first case studies I've done were in early 2006. And so they were amazing from the start, right from the very beginning. Like I released product launch formula, then a few months later I went to a seminar, and I went to that seminar, and as I walked into like the foyer for the event, all these people started coming up to me and telling me about their launches. They were amazing, but they were like $10,000 launches and $12,000 and $30,000, which was amazing. But what's crazy is how it's all grown over time. And I think it's because the markets have gotten bigger. There's more people online. Online education is such a thing now that it wasn't back then to the degree it is now. And the tools, we've gotten better. Our tools have gotten better, and it's gotten easier to put the technical of building these pages and putting them out there. It's gotten so much easier. Video's easier to do now than it used to be. You do everything in writing, and that was harder. So the launches back then were 10,000 was amazing, and 30,000 was incredible, and one was 100,000. But now these case studies, they're incredible. I mean, Bonnie, $342,000 with her first launch, teaching people how to make wallpaper designs and fabric designs. Incredible, absolutely incredible.
Awesome. Okay, we've got one coming up from Sandy. And Sandy is having trouble getting people to work with her on a JV launch. And she's wondering, how do you find partners who are willing to promote for you?
Yeah, and I missed the name on that. Was it, you said
Sandy.
Sandy. Okay, so for Sandy, I don't know where you're at in your business or how far evolved you are, but if you're just starting out, you probably shouldn't be jumping into joint venture launches. You should be following that process. This is, there's a reason it's called the Circle of Awesome. It's because it's awesome, and I'd start here. Now, Sandy, if you've got an established business, and you've already done an internal launch and you want to have a JV launch, it's the way, building relationships with partners is like building any relationship. I think I already said that. We've been going for a long time, so I can't remember everything I've said, but it's a process. And if you haven't been able to attract those partners, then you just haven't built enough value for them. It's a matter of getting a relationship with them and then building value for them. And there's one of the ways you can build value is if you promote for them. If you go through their product and help them out, if you become a partner for them in some way, it just comes down to building value for them. And I look at the partners I've had, and it is a partnership. It's not just like, hey, mail my stuff and make me a bunch of money in my JV launch. It's a long-term partnership, and those relationships build over time. So the JV launch, an advanced strategy. It's a great strategy, but it's not your first strategy. And you know, the first time I did a launch, I think I said this, the first affiliate launch I did was 600,000, the second was 3.7 million. There were 2.5 years in between those two things, and I spent those 2.5 years building relationships. And that's why I did an extra $3 million. So at the end of the day, this is an advanced strategy. It's not the first launch. If you're already doing internal launches, if you're already getting results, then you start building these relationships. And oh, by the way, the best way to get people, if you do a great internal launch and you get great results and great metrics, then you can take those to partners and show them the metrics, meaning this is how many sales I made out of this many leads, this is how many dollars per sale. It all comes down to math. And so this is one thing I didn't emphasize here, is as you go through that progression from internal to JV, what you do your internal launch, you build out your sideways sales letter, and then that's basically you take that same sideways sales letter and you reuse it right here. So now you've gotten proven results, and you can take those results and show potential partners that, yes, this is a great sideways sales letter. Yes, it works. Yes, you can have pretty high confidence that if you promote, you're going to do well.
Awesome. Okay, so next up we have Mohammed. And Mohammed is asking, can you please tell me how to attract customers to subscribe to my list?
Wait a second, wait. Come back. I just looked at the comments. Rich said, wonder what the differences may be between a seed launch and an internal one. Rich, you know, you're awesome, but dude, I just spent 3 hours teaching that. So watch the replay. I don't, you know, maybe you missed the beginning, but yeah, I've already gone pretty deep there. So let's go right here.
Okay, again, we have Mohammed, and Mohammed is saying, can you please tell me how to attract customers to subscribe to my list?
By offering a good lead magnet. Well, first of all, Mohammed said, how to attract customers, right? Is that what the...
Yeah, how do I attract customers to subscribe to my list?
Yeah, so you don't. You attract subscribers to your list. So you have a good lead magnet, and then, I mean, we talked about this quite a few times on all of these. You basically have a lead magnet which offers them something cool, and boom, go here, go here, go here. And I mean, so my lead magnet was the Launch Masterclass. So so you don't have to do a 14-hour Launch Masterclass, but it could just be a PDF. It could be, like I said, a list of 100 songs for guitar to learn on guitar. It could be, but something that they're interested in, and then you drive traffic to that page, and then you get them there, and then you do a launch, and that's how you get clients. You get customers by doing a launch, but you get clients by sending them into an opt-in page.
Okay, so here we've got one from Monica. Monica's asking, what do you think about beta launches? Like just offering something to your people on just your existing fans on Facebook or Instagram for like a low introductory price, like $197 instead of $997.
Yeah, so first of all, before we get to that one, I just want to my timer's showing we're at 3 hours and 1 minute. So that's it, folks. We're going to shut it down. See you later.
Bye.
No, just kidding. We're running a little long because I went a little deeper on the seed and the JV launch and frankly the internal launch. I went a little deeper, so we're running a little long, but I'm going to keep on going. So my apologies if you have a hard out at 3 hours. We're going to go just a little longer, take a few more questions. Could you read that question again, Dan?
Yeah, and I'm going to say I just refreshed my comments for the first time in like the last 2 minutes, and there were like 90 more comments. So I think there's a few folks who are interested still.
Cool.
All right, so let's go to Monica's question. What do you think about beta launches, like offering to your people on Instagram or on Facebook, like your existing fans, for say $197 instead of $997?
Well, the thing is you can call it a beta launch, you can call it whatever it is, but what are you actually going to do? And so what I think you should actually do is do a seed launch. You can publicly say, hey, we're doing a beta launch, because that's sort of a term out there, but that term doesn't mean anything. What I've given you in the seed launch is like something that's real. This is like a real plan, a real process. So I hope this isn't blowing your eardrums out when I move pages.
But this is a real process that really works. So this is what you should do. Now, you probably aren't going to tell your people that, hey, we're doing a seed launch on this thing, so go buy it, because they're not going to know what you're talking about. So you can say beta launch, but what are you really talking about? I hope you're talking about this, or maybe an internal launch with a sideways sales letter. And I think offering it to people on Insta and Facebook's awesome. However, I don't think it's very hard to sell people straight off of there. It's way better to take people off of Insta and off of Facebook and say, I created this cool thing, you can have it for free, go to this page, and they go to that page and they opt in, then they're on your list, and then you do the launch. So that's the only thing I would say is, beta launch is a term that doesn't really have a real meaning. The seed launch is a real thing that's worked thousands of times, so do a seed launch. It's okay to call it a beta launch. In fact, I think it's smart to call it a beta launch for people. But drive them from social onto your list and then get them to buy.
Cool. Okay, so we've got Sybil up. Sybil's asking, in the sideways sales letter, do you only show the price for the service at the end on the last day?
In general, yes. It's later in the launch that you'll reveal the price. So the whole revelation of price there's an art and a science to that. I'll talk a little bit about that in lesson 4 when we get to the open cart. The thing is like if say you're here, if you start talking price here, they aren't ready. I talked about this in lesson 1 of taking people up to the precipice of making a decision. The precipice of making a decision. And you have to get them ready to make that decision. And it's like if you walk onto a car lot, you're at a Mercedes dealership, they don't put the price of the Mercedes in really big numbers on the window of that Mercedes. They want you to come in and they want you to look at it and sit in it and hopefully take a ride in it before you start talking about price. And of course, yeah, you can go look at prices online and everything, that's fine. But you need to build value here and get people to the position of they're ready to make a decision before you reveal price.
Awesome. So we have one here from Hitesh. Hopefully I'm saying that all right. And Hitesh says, hey there, I have a question for you. I'm planning to be in a field where there's a lot of competition. His thing is to teach people how to pass English exams. And he's wondering how best to separate himself out from the field.
So I don't know that market super well, but I do know there have been some amazing launches in that market. In fact, this is something I haven't talked about so much in the masterclass so far, is that this has been used everywhere in the world. North America, South America, Central America, Asia, Africa, Europe, UK, Australia, New Zealand. But one of the biggest launches was done in Brazil, in this exact market. I just know the results, and it was incredible. It was in the $1 million range for learning English for Brazilians, or for Portuguese speakers. And so it's a great market. I don't know that market very well, but what I do know is that I personally, every market I've been in has been super competitive. And the way I've competed in those markets is by having my own voice. So like, tell me in the comments. I mean, like every day when I go through my Insta feed, every day when I'm on Facebook, I see a new guru, a new influencer, a new expert teaching about marketing, because they obviously, Facebook knows the stuff I'm interested in, and marketing and online business, they know that's my jam, right? So every day, it's like a pop-up guru, I call them. There's these pop-up stores. These are pop-up gurus. Like pretty much every day, there's a new pop-up guru that it's like if you can rent a Lamborghini, or you can stand in front of a big mansion, then it's like, oh, you can make a gazillion dollars in like 1 minute online. Let me show you how. So it's a very competitive market. But when you think about the time we've just spent together and sort of my persona, which is just who I am. I mean, I'm not much of an actor. What you see is what you get. But if you think about it,
you get a different feel from me than many of the other people that are teaching in this market? Go ahead and leave a comment. I'm going to look at the comments in just a minute. I'm just curious about that because I have a feeling I know what the answer for most people is, but at the end of the day, are they going to connect with you? Are they going to connect with Kathy? Well, Kathy's stuff was over here. Are they going to connect with Bonnie? And at the end of the day, what we're really selling is connection. Yes, you're going to be selling language training, but before they can get to language training, they have to buy you. They have to buy their belief in you. They have to buy that you care. And so the beautiful thing is there's a lot of humans on this planet, and not all of us resonate with everyone else. And so there's some people that resonate with me. Other people that are just like, Jeff, he's so boring. Look at, he's too old. He's been at this too long and he's teaching us old stuff. Doesn't drive a fancy car, or he's in a big secret headquarters. He's not for me, or he's too young, or he's too American, or I don't like the way his voice sounds. Well, or he speaks too fast, or he speaks too slow. Whatever. There's going to be a lot of people that don't resonate with me, but there's also a lot of people that do resonate with me. And so that's why you need to start getting your work out there and start publishing and start building that list and finding your voice and the voice that resonates with people. And that, at the end of the day, is what's going to differentiate you. And this works for any crowded market. I'll tell you what, I think I said this in lesson 1. My first product was a newsletter about the stock market. I was not a stockbroker. I was not a certified financial analyst. I was not a commodity trading advisor. I had no credentials, no letters after my name. The only thing I had was knowledge about the market. And I started, but there are, there's probably 10 or 20 or 30,000 newsletters about the stock market. But somehow I was able to thrive because people resonated with me. And that's how no matter what market you're in, that's how you end up thriving. Let me just check the comments and see if people are saying stuff. Stan the Man said, "We old fogey marketers get you, Jeff." Oh yeah, yeah, I love it.
I think it's cool how many comments we're seeing about folks saying this is really starting to click, like they're really starting to get the whole picture of how this all comes together.
Cool. Do we have any more questions, or are we out of questions?
No, I think we could go for quite a bit longer here. Let's do, okay, so I'm very sorry if I get this name wrong. I will try. Bahavna is asking, how do you deal with the anticipatory fear of a launch not succeeding?
Well, first of all, I mean, full disclosure, sometimes launches don't work. Sometimes they're not amazing. And you have to go, so much of this, 25, 26, 27 years ago, I was a stay-at-home dad. I had nothing going on in my life. When I said stay-at-home dad, that'd been like 5 or 6, 7 years. 6 years, from like 1990 to 1996. Not making a single penny, just taking care of babies. And that was a great thing. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I had the time with my kids. It's for all you parents out there, what an amazing job to have. But it wasn't good for my let's say how to say this? It wasn't the thing that inspired me to go out and create. But then I started, out of desperation, I launched. And once I got into this world, I started to fix that mental head trash. That's a term I like. That we all have these voices in our saying, "I can't do it," or "Don't stop embarrassing yourself. I'm embarrassing myself," or I just got lucky, and that's why I've gone back to that several times today. Because what you do is you need a tribe. No one does this alone because it's hard work. I started off the broadcast with that. There's hard work involved. But the beautiful thing is this hard work's going to change your life. And part of that is changing your internal belief structure and understanding that if a launch doesn't work, the next one will, or the next one will. It's next. next, next. And you know, the thing is your self-worth is not determined by that launch. Your self-worth is determined by your ability to get up and do the next launch, and your ability to do the next launch, and baby steps and baby steps and baby steps. And then sooner or later, all of a sudden, you're that overnight success that people are talking about after a lot of baby steps and a lot of working on your mental game.
Awesome. So we've got one here from Ben, and Ben, I think, is feeling like he's trying to figure out a seed launch here. And Ben says, as a creator of a DJ course, how would I create a seed launch? The training to get someone started is going to take longer than 4 to 6 segments.
Okay, so first of all, you can do longer than 4 to 6 segments, for sure. You can do a seed launch. Like I said, the first time I did a seed launch, I probably did 10 or 12 segments. So you could absolutely do that. Or you can say, what's the first step? What's the first piece? How can I take this overall course and chunk it down into 2 or 3, and then just, you know, logical pieces, and then sell that first piece? So it's like you know, any type of education or any type of mastery. You know, how do you get to be a black belt? By becoming a white, yellow, orange, blue, green, well, you know, to go through the whole thing. So it's like, how do you chunk that down? That's one answer. The other answer is just to do 10 or 12. That's it. How about we take, we'll go for maybe another question, and then I've had a little bit of housekeeping, and then, okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, we've got one here from Rocket Man. Rocket Man says, Jeff, is it bad to start building a list, but to also purchase one based on customers' purchases?
Well, yeah, purchasing a list is a tricky business. And I almost hate to even answer that question because it's very nuanced, but you have to be careful that you're only purchasing a list that those people agreed that their information could be sold. And so, and even then, you're asking for trouble. So I have seen it work, but you have to tread very lightly and tread very lightly and be very, very careful and be very, very sure that whoever you're buying it from is someone who specifically got permission from people who said, yeah, I'm interested in other offers. Please, sell my name to those other people. And so though there are legitimate ways to do it, but it's one to tread lightly on and be really, really careful. So we're going to take maybe a couple more questions, but I've got a little bit of housekeeping here. I'm going to take a look at the comments here just because you guys are awesome and leaving lots of comments. Whew, boy, how are you guys doing out there? 3 hours, 18 minutes, and 17 seconds. That's how long we've been going. Man, hammering away. Okay, so a couple of quick announcements, quick housekeeping. First of all, coming up in just a few days on Thursday, so we'll get a quick turnaround. On Thursday, we're going to have lesson number 3. That's the product launch blueprint. This is where you're mind-blowing. We're still putting the finishing touches on the PDF download, but it's going to be somewhere, I think, north of 30 pages. Here's a question. In Australia, do they say that north of meaning more than, or do they say south of in Australia, New Zealand, Brazil? I don't know. It's a good question. But there's probably going to be more than 30 pages in that download. It gives you the map of the entire process. So if we sort of orient where we're at, we got the sideways sales letter in lesson 1. That's this core kernel that feeds into everything. And then we went from the sideways sales letter, and we went and taught you the 3 types of launches. And we ended up on the circle of awesome. And really my goal here was to try to get you to identify which launch is for you right now. I think eventually most of you will be doing both of these and maybe all 3 of these. That's where you're going to get to. But just go ahead and type in the comments. Now that you've heard them all, which launch are you going to start with? Which is going to be your first launch? Type it in the comments. I'm going to look at the comments in just a minute. So that was the first 2 lessons. Third lesson, now I got to take this whole thing and show you the big picture and how it all fits together. And all the details, and all those other launches, all those additional launches, because these aren't the only 3.
You heard, who was it, talk about the quick launch. Kathy talked about the quick launch. It's a quick launch and a bunch of others. So we're going to go big picture, show you the entire map, show you the entire launch world, and again, to give you the details so you can take this and put it into action. So that's coming up in lesson 3. The concierge page, people are like, I can't find the concierge page. If you're watching me now, you're watching on the concierge page. This is the concierge page. So right when we do a live broadcast, it sort of takes over the page with all the comments. But if you come back to this page, just go to productlaunchformula.com. That's all you have to do. Go to productlaunchformula.com and it'll take you to the concierge page. And on that page, I'm putting in extra videos. I have a little silly one coming up for you. Recap videos. You can see the case studies. I'm releasing additional case studies. There's also links to the Launch Masterclass Facebook group, to getting updates from Facebook Messenger, to following me on Instagram. I've been putting a little behind the scenes on Instagram. So yeah, and then in the next 3 days, I'm going to be releasing 3 more case studies. First, we've got Kat and Jason. And Kat, they have a launch for, they did a launch in the cannabis market on how to grow cannabis. And they did a seed launch. So the seed launch, this is no pun intended, they did a seed launch for how to grow cannabis, and they did really good with it. It's going to be very cool for you. Then we have Karen Leggett, who's a medical doctor with a thriving practice, but she was working too hard in that practice, so she started selling physical products. It's an amazing story. We actually shot the case study. She was in her RV that her husband and her are traveling in, because that's what they can do instead of going into their practice and working in their practice. They've got this great physical products. So that case study is also coming up on the concierge page. Then we have Craig Peterson. Craig is a B2B business. He sells networking stuff and network security stuff. That's my technical term, stuff. Really what he's selling is services, training, and other high-end hardware. And when I say high-end, I'm talking very high-end, very large sales to very large companies, pure B2B. So those 3 case studies I'll be releasing over the next 3 days on the concierge page. Be sure to check them out. The stories are just as amazing as the ones I've already shown you. Okay, we got another question. What's our next question?
Okay, next question. We have MJ Resto saying, how often can I do a seed launch? I'm starting from scratch and just creating first email list.
So for MJ, this is an interesting question. How often to do a seed launch? If I could be so bold, I would say it's the wrong question to ask. I think the question is how soon can I do my first seed launch? So right now you're trying to plan out your future. You're trying to plan out the series of launches. And it's okay to have a big vision. But my experience, and I've taught thousands and thousands and thousands of people, is you can get caught up in planning out the next 100 steps when what's important is the next step. The next step is what's important. And just do that next step and move forward and get into your seed launch and do that seed launch. And once you get into that seed launch, you're going to start rubbing elbows with your clients. And when you start rubbing elbows with your clients, they're going to show you the path forward. So it might be nice to think you can have some great master plan for world domination, but I didn't get here by having this world domination plan. I got here by doing that first launch and saying, oh my gosh, I did $1,650. That was incredible, and maybe I'll get better with my next launch. Doing the next launch and did $6,000. And oh my goodness, I learned something in that launch, and I learned how to talk to my market. And the next launch, $8,000. And depending on what your frame of reference is for money, from $6,000 to $8,000 might not seem like that much, but that's a 33% increase. That's amazing. And then I kept on launching, and then I got there, and somewhere in there was like a $17,000 launch, mind-blowing. Then the $34,000 launch that brought Mary home. Then the $106,000 launch. Then the $600,000. Then $3.7 million. It wasn't like I did a $1,650 and said, you know, one day I'm going to do $3.7 million, or I'm going to do 17 more seed launches. It's the next launch
that matters. It's the first launch. So instead of worrying about how often you can do this, how many you want to do, how many courses you're going to create, worry about that first one. So instead of how many, how often, when? When can you launch? Okay.
Okay, one more question. We have from Buffy. Buffy's asking, how do you balance the time spent in your business with the rest of your life? Following different groups, reaching out to affiliates, keeping lists, creating the product, et cetera, et cetera. How do you balance all of this and still find time for yourself and your family?
Okay, so that question was from Buffy, and it's an important question. Thanks for asking. It's awesome. And the answer is actually somewhat similar to the last answer I gave. Completely different question, but similar. So like right now, if you're just starting out, so first of all, I've been really clear on this. There is hard work involved, and there are sacrifices to be made. If you can shortcut some of the sacrifices if you spend more money, but there is effort involved. And when I started out, I was a stay-at-home dad with 2 babies. Now, some people are like, I've had people say, well, Jeff, it was easy for you to start out because you didn't have a job. Well, I'll tell you what, being home with 2 babies is a job. And actually, by the time I started, they were probably like 5 and 2 or something like that. So they weren't itty-bitty babies. But still, if you are thinking, Jeff, you didn't have a job, then you've never raised children. So how did I do it? I did it when they're, the holy grail for me was to get them to both take a nap at the same time, and then I'd have maybe 30 minutes to actually do something, or after they were in bed. And you know what? Mary came home, we had a little bit of time together, and then I was up for half the night. There is sacrifice involved. There's hard work involved. But I was focused on what was on the other side. And what was on the other side for me at that time was that our family wouldn't be desperate for money. Later on, it moved on to like having a lifestyle and freedom and time freedom and being able to live where we wanted and then eventually make an impact. But at the beginning, it was just, we're desperate and we needed to make some money. I needed to make some money for the family. So there's sacrifice involved. So I can't get away from that. There's hard work involved. Sorry. I wish there wasn't. I wish you could just push a button, but there's work involved. So now Buffy's like, how do you balance your time spent in the business with the rest of your life? It's always a balancing act. It's always a balancing act. But then she said, following numerous groups, reaching out to affiliates, keeping lists, prospect, buyer, owner, creating the products. I've covered a lot of ground. We're 3.5 hours almost into this. I've covered a ton of ground. But the reality is you don't need to do all of this. You don't need to be finding partners if you're doing a seed launch. You don't need to worry about a buyer's list until you have a buyer's list. You don't need to worry about the prospect list until you build your lead magnet. It's always about the next step. What's the next step? And in all my work, part of this is I'm trying to give you the overview I know it seems like a lot of time, but I've basically got 4 sessions, about 12 hours. I think that math works right. I got about 12 hours to give you my life's work and to convince you that it works for you and help you find where you're at. But no one watching this is going to do every piece of this. These super successful PLF owners who are watching this haven't done every step of this. Kathy Hay hasn't done a JV launch, right? You don't need all of it. You need the next step. And that's why I work so hard. I mean, this is sort of a huge data dump on you. Hopefully there's a wisdom dump on you. Hopefully there's been value bomb after value bomb. That's what I'm here for. But my whole thing is giving you step by step, by step, by step, by step. That's what my training is. That's what the product transformative coaching program is. It's being able to have you take the right next step. And when you take those baby steps, and if you join my training, you're going to get sick of hearing me say baby steps because it's such a core piece. But that's what it's about. And the reason, no baby ever went to take a step or two and fell down and never tried again. They always keep on getting back up. And that's what my community does. That's what our community does. So the reality is if you take that baby step and another baby step and another baby step and another baby step and just move forward, don't worry about affiliates. Don't worry about buyer's list. Don't worry about YouTube channels. just take the next right step for you. And I mean, I had this, I do yoga among a bunch of other things. And I had this one class, and I can't remember what the pose was, but there was this pose. And the pose was one where your back was supposed to be flat on the ground, but it was really hard to get your back flat on the ground because of other things you were doing. And so my instructor said, and I need a big bolster because I'm not very good at yoga. I had this big, thick bolster like this thick that my back was on. That's what it took. I had to support my back with that bolster because I couldn't get down to the ground. But my instructor, she said, well, just think about it like this is the way to think about your practice. So think about it like it's an old school phone book. Many of you might be nearly as old as me and remember those old phone books that were like this thick. And think about, instead of a bolster, that you've got that telephone book under you. And then tomorrow, when you go to do this, or the next time you go to do this pose, you tear off one piece of paper, one page. And so it's just like a 0.5 millimeter closer to the ground. And the next day you tear off another page. And the next day you tear off another page. And the next day you tear, and each week you get 2 or 3 millimeters closer to the ground. And after a year, maybe you're 1 centimeter or 2 closer to the ground. And then all of a sudden you turn around and your back's flat. That's the way business is. That's the way life is. It's getting the next right step. And if you do that, you're going to turn around and you're going to have an online business that gives you an income that hopefully that you've never dreamed of before. That's going to give you that freedom to live where you want, the freedom to work how much you want and when you want, the freedom to work with who you want, and the freedom to make that impact that you want. That's what's on the other side of this. But it doesn't come from jumping forward. It comes from going baby step by baby step. That's how it works in the real world. That's how this works in the real world. I'll see you in lesson 3 on Thursday. Super secret segment, lesson 2. Here we go. So that was almost on the dot, 3 hours and 30 minutes, but I wanted to bring it to you for a super secret segment. So first of all, I saw a couple of comments. I checked the comments really quick. I love the comment from Kat, we're going to feature her on that case study that we're going to release on the concierge page. But what did Kat say, Dan?
Oh, hold on. Let me scroll through it really quick. Kat saying, if you care about something, you'll find the time. A lot of people can gain 20, 30 minutes a day, spending less time playing Candy Crush, browsing through news, going to social media. Even the most busy person can probably find a few minutes to work on their future. You owe it to yourself to spend that time for yourself.
I love it. If you care about it, you'll find the time. That's awesome. Okay, and then there was another segment, another comment, someone saying, Jeff, please rehydrate. Actually, I have been. I've been drinking. Every time we did a case study, I'd like pound down some more water. So thank you for your concern. Appreciate it. So on this super secret segment, I want to talk about case studies. And
I mentioned this earlier. I sort of have this embarrassment of riches. I have too many case studies. We did a little call for case studies to our PLF owners, and we got just huge a number. And then of those, we had to narrow it down, and we did like 24. I think it was 24, and I shot those over a period of 4 days. We shot 6 a day for 4 days, and those were 4 really good days. They were long, exhausting days, but they were good days because at the end of the day, no pun intended, they were folks, 24 people just saying, "Hey Jeff, you changed my life, and you've helped me build this business and create this impact." So it was really, really cool. So I sort of have this embarrassment of riches, and we can only play so many during the masterclass, and that's why I'm releasing them between the sessions. So we're going to release that one with Kat and who else? I gotta go back up, get that. It was Kat and Karen and Craig, and they're amazing case studies. But I want to talk about how to think about doing case studies, because this is something you might want to do in your business. So when you do these, people are going to watch your case studies, and they're going to look to try to find themselves in your case studies. So diversity in every sense is great. Diversity in age, in the way people look, in their market, in their product. And for me, it's market and product. But if you're teaching guitar, maybe it's the style of guitar. If you're teaching crochet, maybe it's the type of thing they make or whatever. But a diversity, so people can try to find themselves in your case studies. And the other thing is that flip side is people will be looking at the case studies thinking, this is why it won't work for me. So they're going to be looking for excuses why the case studies won't work for them. So part of your job is first the diversity, but also just showing, making the lessons of those case studies real and making them a little more universal. Now, one thing to think about is there's sort of this Venn diagram. John was just talking about this Venn diagram. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think of 3 circles. Can they get that, Dan?
Yeah, it's visible.
I mean, I could go back to the other.
Yeah, maybe we'll go over to the other side. Might be a little easier to see.
Yeah. So, this page intentionally left blank. And actually, I could probably do this page. So it's sort of like, actually, let's go to I can afford a new piece of paper. I'm going to go big. Only because I love you, I'm going to go big with a new piece of paper.
The abundance paper.
And this black marker is starting to go on me. So this like your story, the case study story, and their story. When we're talking, their meaning the prospect. And so I like to share my story and the case studies, and there's an overlap there. There's a lot of they're all different. They're radically different. But you want to make it feel like their story. So, I've shared my story throughout this whole launch masterclass, which was, it's cliche, but it's sort of rags to riches. That first launch, $1,650 was amazing and mind-blowing to me. And then I went on to do $1 million launches. And then you have these, Max having a setback and then doing $180,000. And Bonnie just like hoping to make $12,000 an artist and now has $1 million business. And you're trying to get that to overlap with what they can see. That's really what you're doing here is you're trying to get them to see how their future can change. And again, I'm talking about launches, but you could be talking about meditation or knitting or tennis or golf or carving wooden dolls, on and on and on, teaching youth soccer. These are all markets that people have done PLF in, and that just scratches the surface. You've already started to see the diversity of niches and markets that people are doing this in. Okay, another thing to think about is your sequence of case studies. So I'm trying to bring you along because some of my case studies are so outlandish. Bonnie and Christine, that's amazing. But like if I dropped Bonnie's case study at the very beginning of the first lesson, A lot of people will be like, $1 million business, I'll never have a million dollar business, so this doesn't apply, and click right away. So I'm sort of have a, you might have noticed I'm all about sequences. So I'm all about taking a sequence and leading you in. And that's why we started out with Amanda and Jonathan in lesson 1. Amazing case study. They're a great case study. And it was, what was their first launch? It was for a few $1,000s, and then they weren't massive numbers. So think about the sequence. And all of a sudden, also you don't want to put like female, 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 or young, 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 young. Mix them up. Keep it moving along. Have people at different places in their journey. So if they're learning guitar, you have people that started at different places and ended at different places. And also have real teaching in there. I think this is why I'm a fan of having like real teaching, not just sappy story. And if you go back and look at these, there are some real serious nuggets in them. And I like specifically these folks, these case studies I'm doing, these folks, this is gonna sound immodest, but they love me. They love me because of what PLF has done for them. And they're like willing to do anything. And I have to hold them back. I have to say like, okay, this isn't about selling PLF. I don't want you to sell PLF. I just want you to tell your story. So there could be times where you want your case studies to sell a little harder, maybe later in your launch. But for me, I want them to be more, just share their story. Because at the end of the day, the case studies is about the transformation, showing how their life changed. Max, divorced, starting over, separated from his kids, his daughters, just didn't know, just needed something new. To all of a sudden, a new wife with his daughters, nice income, he's able to travel, he's got freedom, and he said, I'm just happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. That's that transformation. And that, at the end of the day, is what you're trying to capture with your case studies. And I'm doing it for building business, but you could do it for learning guitar, for learning to meditate, for learning to garden. It'll work in your market. So that's what I got for you. Super secret segment. Leave me a comment if you think the super secret segment was worth hanging around for. And I'll see you in lesson 3 in just a few days.